Alrighty, folks. What's up? How's everybody doing? 1 second. I'm making my my drink for the stream. I make my own sody pop, chat. I make my own sody pop. How is everybody doing? Woo! My morning, there's no alcohol in it. It's just I do put my own B vitamins and caffeine in it though. I honestly, don't forget your Metamucil. Honestly, I should do Metamucil, but I'm like, my health is like improving so much. Vio and I have been like, Vio and I have been like very, very disciplined for over a month now on our diets, you know? We really cut out almost all takeout, and we've kind of implemented this rule that if we want restaurant food, we're going to like make it a night. You know what I mean? Mike is already pretty regular because he shits every day before stream. I mean, I don't know why you know that, but it is true. That is true. Maybe I mentioned it once as a joke and you remembered, but I am incredibly regular. I take a poop pretty much within the same 30-minute window every day. So now you know. Military says the 3 S's in the morning are shit, shower, and shave. Yeah. Is that a military thing? I mean, my dad always said that, so maybe that is a military thing. My girlfriend and I get ready at the same time in the morning, but I have the urge to go to the bathroom super bad while she's in the shower, and it's awful. How do I just BM schedule away from the first thing in the morning? Personally, I think that's ideal poop schedule. You get rid of the extra weight. You purge the remnants of the previous day. You're starting fresh. You know what I mean? You're not carrying around a bunch of muck from yesterday. You know what I mean? It's just good vibes. Anyway, what are we talking about today? LA protests. Trump is going to send white Europeans to GITMO. I am not kidding. Donald Trump is going to be sending citizens of Britain, France, and Italy to GITMO with no intention to notify their governments. Now, if I had to guess, these have got to be people that are pro-Palestine. If I had to guess. It may be criminals as well, or people who have some sort of criminal conviction, but I think deportation back to their home country is just makes more like, why the fuck would you send them to Gitmo? That's incredibly expensive waste of money. Just put them on a commercial flight back to London or Paris or Rome. Like what? Huh? This doesn't even, like, this is just fascistic shit. It's like, it's not like they're sanctioning the US. Just send them back to their home country if you have a problem with them. It is fundamentally within the legal system of the world an acceptable outcome. It's not illegal to deport people, like, you know, who go back to their original country. Can I talk about optics for a second? I feel like the discourses we have online are, why am I trying to dox the Belarusian guy? Huh? If I wanted to dox him, I would have already doxed him. I just think that all people who are European and telling people not to protest in America, we should know, like, we shouldn't give them the, oh, they're an American shield. We should be like, where are you from? Why are you commenting on American politics? You don't live here. You don't know what you're talking about. That's my general take, personally. But if I wanted to dox someone, I would dox them like Destiny does, or Ethan Klein. Speaking of that, apparently, Badapanada says that what the fuck is that guy's name? The guy we've been making fun of. Ryan Beard apparently has proof that Ethan Klein rented the skulls himself, but that Ryan Beard was going to make a two sides argument. Oh shit, guys, we got one. Oh, it's kind of a new account though. What's your original account, Zero Signal? What's your real account? Zero Signal streams Donut County. I don't think you have many streams, huh? No clips? Damn. You know the skulls are absolutely fake because he would cry about every single day. No. It's not just, the skulls are real, but he rented them himself. Zionist friend of the show, Ryan Beard, boldly steps down from making an Ethan Hassan video, cites threats by Hassan and H3 Snark sub, which is not even active. By the way, Hassan never attacked Ryan Beard, and neither did the Snark sub. I just debated with him very kindly in DMs as well. At first on replies and then DMs. He has never been mentioned. He's just hallucinating. The reality is, I convinced Ryan Beard not to do it. The breaking news. I'm the one who convinced Ryan Beard not to make this video. It was me. It was actually me. I also talked to Ryan in DMs. It was actually me. I said, bro, they're fucking lying. What are you talking about? Dude, don't make this video. It'll be terrible for you. You're gonna look like a fucking genocide supporter. Like, what are you doing? And then I went through all the arguments. I mean, should I leak the DMs? I don't really want to leak the DMs because I don't like to be the first person to leak DMs. But I'll just say, like, if somebody else leaks my DMs, then I have no problem showing the DMs. Or if somebody says they didn't say something, but they said it in DMs, I will impeach them. But I don't like to leak them right off the bat. I'm not a fan of breaking that seal. You know, I tend to think DMs are intended to be between two people, and if you know you decide because of other considerations to break that seal, I don't tend to like to just to break them. So I'll consider it. They'll protect these fucks so they wouldn't do the same to you. It's not so much that I'm protecting Ryan, it's more that I want people to feel like they can DM me without me immediately turning it into content. You know what I mean? It's more like I am creating a space where people can message me and you know what I mean? It's more like I'd rather people feel like there's a certain amount of like trust and respect, even with people I don't like. If they DM me, I will not just immediately run with the leaks, you know? That's just more of my sense. But I also, and I will say this, it was me. I convinced Ryan Beard to give up this fight. Now, I personally think he should just make an anti-Ethan video and stop being such a pussy. But I'm pretty sure he's like a fallen, like he's still an H3 fan, or he's a fallen H3 fan. So it's like you know what I mean? It's hard to go from like I'm a super fan of H3 to like, oh, now I'm going to hate H3. You know, just going to silence is it's a fine compromise. Good morning, Michael. It's your lucky day. I have a clip from Off the Presses, someone who owes you $1,500 explaining historical materialism. Oh, this ought to be great.
Do you understand historical materialism? It seems like you don't really have an understanding of it, even though you criticize the left. I mean, I think I have a...
All right, here we go. Oh my God. Oh my God. Here comes the Googling. The chat GPTing.
It's based on Hegel's dialectics and rejects idealism. According to Marx, ideas or beliefs do not determine human beings, but rather material conditions. Yeah, I understand.
He doesn't. You have no idea what that means. Okay, come on, Hutch, man, come on, man. Some of the smartest people I know struggle with Hegelian thought. Like, can you? Come on. Why do we respond to this guy? Because he's a good foil.
Appreciate the fact. I don't think it's a bad thing that people are hyper fixated on addressing material conditions for people. Well, I had something in my head and I just wanted to make sure that I knew what we were talking about. Listen, it's been, I was an undergrad. I read,
there is first of all, in the typical undergraduate curriculum, you do not read political philosophy unless you make it an effort to go and do it. It's just not true. Now, I went to a university that has a top philosophy department, and I made sure to take political philosophy. So, you know, and I had an interest on it, and I read it myself. So, like, you know, it is what it is. Marx, Hobbes, Rousseau, Locke, John Stuart Mill, David Hume, like, you know, some basic, there's no fucking way you read any of that, Hutch. Like, there's no way.
Thing to think about or to see images of. Not a good thing to happen.
Say what you're saying is you still ignored what is obviously going to happen and said something dumb anyway. Got it. I mean, here's the thing. The context here was that Hassan kept saying over and over, I have a bad feeling that something is going to happen soon. A full hour after the police gave the crowd 10 minutes to disperse. Yeah, like, no shit, they're eventually going to move. Like, the idea that he's not wrong because he can justify it is crazy. I became liberal without studying any liberal philosophy. It's only based on doing the opposite of your experience with conservatives. Am I dumb? I mean, being liberal is embarrassing. It is that is the Overton window. And we live in liberal hegemony. So if you just kind of exist in our society, you're going to be inculcated with liberal ideas because that's what we We're, you know, that's our philosophy. I mean, it's truly, we're more of a neoliberal society. So liberalism is more an empty category. The only thing that our society really worships anymore is markets and the creation of markets. And basically, if you want to make money, it's about facilitating markets. And that's what our government efforts are behind. That's what everything is focused on, is market worship, market idolatry, and profiteering. That's it. Have I seen these logs?
So Ryan Beard has announced that he is no longer making his videos sweeping for Ethan Klein's So Ryan Beard has announced that he is no longer making his videos sweeping for Ethan Klein's genocidal Zionism, because according to him, he has been harassed and threatened as a result of announcing this, which is, you know, obvious bullshit. But to be clear, this is a good thing. The less people making Zionist propaganda, the better. So I'm glad that Ryan Beard is no longer making a Zionist propaganda video. Now, his justification for this is just clear bullshit. Obviously, he's not afraid of being harassed or whatever, nor is he even fronting real harassment here. He's just reframing people calling him out for him sweeping for Zionism as harassment and threats. That's what this stuff always is. You know, Ryan Beard is someone who just recently made a video calling out Destiny. Now, even Ryan would probably agree that you call out Destiny, you're going to get a lot more harassment than you would calling out pretty much anyone else. You know, a guy with a video called Content Nuke Destiny is not backing off of making a video because he wants to avoid so-called harassment or threats or whatever. Give me a break. What actually happened here is that he didn't receive so-called harassment nor threats. He just realized that he was way out of his depth and that if he made this video, it would get absolute...
Pedo empanada would get folded instantly. Hold on. Why are you trying to dox? You make violent threats, but you're too short, fat, and weak to hurt anyone IRL. I mean, honestly, this is a very good point, guys. This is a very good point. By the way, what violent threats have I made? This guy stinks like a Destiny fan who makes violent threats constantly and is also a skinny, fat, short fuck. Keto empanada would get folded instantly. This is so funny to be a Destiny fan. It's so funny to be a Destiny fan and also call other people pedos. Like, Destiny has literally admitted to being an amoebophile. Holy fucking shit. This is so funny. Also, you're talking about Ryan Beard. What I love about, like, the Destiny stuff is what he argues for immediately and instantly gets proven wrong. For the longest time, I've been saying, if we run somebody with a bold platform, with good social media and charisma, they will blow the fuck up, and they'll have to be fighting the Democratic Party every step of the way. Immediately proven right with Zoran. Meanwhile, they're like, vote for a centrist. Starver approval drops. Oh, shit. Starmer is his actual name. Sorry. I keep writing Starver. Starmer. I keep writing Starver. Okay. Here we go. Here's Starver. Popularity and fame. Popularity, 22%. Disliked by 51. So that's a negative 29% approval rating. How well is he doing as prime minister? 65% badly. 24% well. That's incredible. So you can literally see the, like, anti-left-wing centrist policies in an English-speaking country. How well is that going? Fucking terrible. Proud Labor voter. Fucking loser. Holy shit, that's awesome.
Absolutely reamed by literally everyone with half a brain cell. But he doesn't want to say that, so he's going to...
Keir Starmer's favorability rating among Labor voters... 50% approval, 45% disapprove. Among his own voters, conservative voters, 87 unfavorable. Among reform voters, 96% unfavorable. Among Lib Dems, 52% unfavorable. So the I'm going to go to the right in order to pick up votes from right wingers is utterly failing, while also gutting his support among his own base. Genius. Everybody hates you. Didn't Destiny get to get a kid to show his penis? No, he and a group of guys would go around on, like, early video streaming website, and they told an 8-year-old who was streaming to show his genitals, and he did. So it wasn't a private call, it was a public stream. They would go around looking for children on the streams and try to get them to do shit. And they induced him to show his penis. He threatened to kill and planned to kill a child who was DDoSing him. He said he bought a gun and he mapped out the guy's home and was prepared to go kill him and his father. So that's the Destiny stuff that you guys are mentioning.
Pretend that he was harassed into silence, you know, very Ethan Klein of him, very Zionist of him.
Told him to. The kid just did it. They laughed. Hold on, let's find that out.
Around Justin TV streams, trolling the shit out of these people, and we went around from fucking channel to channel, like fucking around. Like it was just horrible shit. We went to this channel with this fucking this kid was like 8 years old, and he was fucking broing out with everybody in this chat. For whatever fucking reason, this kid decides to fucking take his pants off and fucking wiggle his 8-year-old dick on stream.
Okay, so he says for whatever reason. All right, he said for whatever reason.
I can't even believe it. Oh my fucking god! It was like I didn't even know. Like
an adult man with a son.
We were on Skype. We were like, holy shit! Like we had to do like a double take because we didn't even fucking know like what the fuck was on. Like we were looking at like an 8-year-old dick like on the fucking screen. And his fucking brother and his brother, we called him Captain Push-Ups, would like come in the room. And this guy was like fucking 14 years old. He had his shirt off and he was like this, like watching this stream the entire time and shit. Oh my god. Yeah, that stream got shut down.
All right, there you go. I don't want to mischaracterize it, you know.
Really? So here is the tweet that Ryan Beard posted. He says, "Hey everyone, I've decided to pussy out of making a video about Ethan and Hassan. When I announced that I was working on a video trying to give a level-headed perspective," he's just the ultimate centrist, isn't he? "On the situation, critiquing everyone involved. That's a weird thing for an anti-Zionist to do in a dispute that's fundamentally about a Zionist genocide, huh? I didn't expect I would be threatened by Hassan and attacked by the H3 Snark subreddit for weeks and get a bunch of threats in my DMs. Oh my god, threats. Now, just to be clear here, he wasn't threatened by Hassan. What actually happened is that Hassan posted a message in his Discord, this one right here, which says, if you're a YouTube content creator who hasn't said dick about Israel-Palestine, you're only starting to let your critical position on Israel be known after 19 months of genocide, since it's no longer going to cause you severe career penalties and you spend any moment finger-wagging at people who have been correct the entire time, I will absolutely come after you. If you come out with a critical position without trying to both sides it, then great, welcome to the fold." So this doesn't reference...
By the way, this is what... How reasonable is this? How reasonable is this? If you've hung back like a cowardly little bitch, we know why. Like, we're all content creators. I understand that speaking out against Israel is risky to your career. It gets you blacklisted by Zionists, and a lot of people try to damage you and bring up every scandal and micro-examine every post you make, looking for any slip-up or mistake that you make so they can amplify it to everybody to try to discredit you. I mean, the moment you stand up against Israel, you are basically a politician now. Every little thing you've done in your entire life is going to be critically examined, looking for any flaw. And most people don't want to live like that. And I understand that. So if you're but you're a coward. There's a genocide going on and you're a cowardly little bitch worshiping your materialist idol of whatever pathetic career you have. You value that over common humanity. And that's why the world has so many problems, by the way, because there's so many cowards in it. Let's be honest, okay? The reason why we have such trouble is people are cowardly, and it makes sense. Like, we want to preserve our lives and we don't want to take risks we don't need to, right? Cowardice is selected for, and we live in a cowardly society. So that gives the sociopaths in charge the ability to control a lot more people than they should be able to control. If we were fighting back, they would fold instantly. But the reality is a lot of people are cowardly and they'd rather take care of themselves. So if you're one of those people, fine. Keep quiet. But if you're going to spend these 2 years and then wait until it starts to seem like the moment is opening up, and you're going to run out here and be like, oh yeah, I just wanted you to know I'm against Israel right when the risk is over, you know, that's fine. I'm glad you're making a stand. I'm not going to trash you for taking a stance that I want you to take. Remember, you know, politicians like dogs. If they do the thing you want them to do, shower them with praise and give them a treat. If they do something bad, then you say no. Okay, if somebody's doing the thing I want them to do, I'm not going to attack them. However, if you come out and you're like, well, listen, this is why I have an optics critique for the pro-Palestine movement, and this is why you guys are bad. It's like, fuck you. All right, shut your fucking mouth.
It's Ryan Beard at all. I don't think Hassan Piker even knows that Ryan Beard exists. So it's just very funny that he interprets this one single message posted in Hassan Piker's Discord server, not like publicly.
This is, by the way, about Pierce Morgan. This is Pierce Morgan, not Ryan Beard.
Socials or anything, not even directed at Ryan Beard. He interprets this as him being threatened by Hassan, and in order to play victim, he says that he was threatened by Hassan. Shut the fuck up, man. You would be a great... I mean, you are a Zionist at this point when you're victimizing yourself like this. But anyway, he continues on saying, I'm kind of realized that everyone on the internet is super entrenched in their opinions in this stupid drama war. Stupid drama war. This is about an ongoing genocide that you've never mentioned on your channel even once, Ryan. You search the word Gaza on your channel, you get 0 results. Ryan Beard, what's going on there? And no one is really interested in hearing me try to give nuanced takes on it. Yeah, no shit, there's no nuance here. There's the genocide and there's the anti-genocide. And you've pretty firmly chosen the genocide if you're trying to find nuance between those two positions, man. I kind of just want to swear off talking about leftist/liberal infighting in general. This is not leftist or liberal infighting. What the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, free Palestine. These people always do this. They throw out like a token free Palestine when everything else that they do is directly in conflict with that position. Because they think that by saying the correct set of words, that can negate the totality of their actions, which clearly point to them holding a Zionist position. And then he continues, if you all want to think that I'm a liberal Zionist because I think Bad Embedard is a disgusting psychopath for his history of doxing and brigading and threatening to kill people and harassing people and saying left should care less about anti-Semitism, you can feel free to see me that way. So that's pretty dishonest given my DM conversation with him where I actually educated him on tons of things about Zionism, even about this drama that he did not know about at all, and in which I explicitly debunked every single accusation that he levied at me of supposed doxing, brigading, threatening to kill people, harassing people, and all of this stuff. So what I'm going to do in response to him lying here is just release the DMs so that you can judge them for yourself. So ChatGPT has generously formatted our DMs, which were originally on Instagram, into a nice little shareable file, which I am going to share linked in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. You can go check those out and you can see Ryan Beard being educated very gently, if anything, on the very basics of anti-Zionism, me clearing up tons of things for him that he did not even know about the supposed Ethan Klein drama, which isn't a drama, it's actually about Israel-Palestine, and me refuting every single little accusation that he levied against me of me supposedly doing these things, which, to be clear, Ethan Klein does every single little thing that he accuses me of, day in, day out. And yet Ryan Beard is extremely, personally attached to him and was literally making a video trying to frame as much as he thinks that he could get away with Ethan Klein is not being that bad. This is the definition of, concern trolling right here. He throws out those accusations against me, I debunk them, he sees me debunk them, yet he still clings to them. Yet for Ethan Klein, he is willing to basically forgive every single little thing this guy does.
I mean, anybody who says Bad Empanada, for example, doxes people is just lying. He does not. The only people he's ever exposed are a far-right doxing operation themselves who got people threatened and assaulted. So exposing who's behind a doxing operation is not doxing innocent people. And telling people that who support NATO that they're pieces of shit is not abusing trans women or whatever other lies they are. If somebody has a bad take and you disagree with their take based on the take, that doesn't mean you're attacking their identity. All right. And this is something liberals do a lot. If I disagree with a trans person, or I disagree with a black person, or I disagree with a foreign person, it doesn't mean I'm attacking their identity. It means I'm disagreeing with their political ideas. And I will never be intimidated from disagreeing with someone because of identity. Because once you do that, once you allow people to intimidate you purely using their identity and not rationality, then conservatives are going to use that against you. All you're going to see are more Lindy Lees and more, what's her name? Candace Owens. That's going to be the entire fucking method. Oh, you want to criticize Israel? Well, I didn't know you were such an anti-Semite. That's the game that's being played. So I absolutely refuse to give it any credence. Doesn't mean that I'm not open to the idea that I did something sexist or racist And I don't mind when people gently and in good faith correct me. I'm not infallible. I make mistakes. It happens. And when I make a mistake and I notice it, I admit to it and move on, and I correct myself. It doesn't take that much. Happens. Nobody's infallible. Sometimes we write without fully recognizing who we're talking to. It happens. And once you realize you made a mistake, you correct the mistake. That's called being an adult. Adrian Adams tried to disparage Zoran. I mean, yes, of course. A lawless president does not mean we abolish entire agencies and our laws. I've taken on Donald Trump and ICE and won. People elect us as leaders to solve problems, not to pledge allegiance to rigid ideologies. And like, this is the reality of these people. I've said this time and time again. This is why I'm right. I'm right on the mayor's race. You notice how I said, bullet vote for Zoran and don't vote for any of these other fucking people? Now, I understand why Zoran is trying to play nice with these other candidates. It's a strategy. Zoran is trying to get people to rank him above Cuomo. And if they make him 5th and Cuomo 6th, that doesn't matter. That's a vote for Zoran because it's coming down to the top 2. So I don't care if you vote for Zoran 1 or Zoran 5. That's a vote for Zoran. So if you could convince dummies that somehow is different, then go for it. Personally, bullet vote Zoran. Don't rank anyone else. That's what you should do. And the reason why that's rational is because you know he's going to be in the top 2. So you know all your other rankings are meaningless. Now, if you want to tell other people you'll rank someone else so they rank Zoran higher than Cuomo, then do that. But no, what you're actually going to do is you're going to go into that ballot and you're going to bullet vote. Bullet voting is when you have the opportunity to vote for other candidates and you don't. You just pick one. The primary strategy for doing this is in an election where let's say like the top 3 candidates win, and you should only vote for your top choice unless if they are at risk of losing. So like if your top choice is definitely going to win, like if then you should vote for more candidates, right? But if your top choice is like marginal and may lose, maybe the 4th ranked person, you should only vote for them. And you should encourage as many people as possible to just vote for them, because the ranking is relative. The positions are relative. It is hard to predict exactly how things are going to sort out. So if you can knock down other people below your candidate, it's called bullet voting. It's a tactic to select a single candidate who's highly aligned with you over other candidates. Now, it is what it is. You know, it's a type of strategic behavior that people don't expect you to do, but it is what it is.
Doxes people live. He explicitly weaponized.
I thought in New York, your rank choice requires you to rank 5 choices or your ballot is invalid. No. No. That's definitely not true. All right, let's look at this. All first choice votes are counted. If a candidate receives no more than 50% of first choice votes, that candidate wins. If no candidate earns more than 50% of first choice votes, then counting will continue to the next round. At the end of each round, the last place candidate is eliminated, and voters who chose that candidate now have their vote counted for their next choice. If you only vote for one, then it doesn't matter. You can choose to rank up to 5 candidates. If you prefer, you can still vote for just one candidate. The proper thing to do in the mayor's race in New York is to rank Zoran only, and to go around to everybody else and tell them that you will rank their candidate if they rank your candidate over Cuomo. In reality, it won't matter because, as I said before, if Zoran is in the top 2, he will never be eliminated. So your other choices do not matter. You don't have to lie. I mean, you can literally rank those people if you want. They're just irrelevant. The ranking only matters if your first choice gets eliminated. Do you understand? As it's proven, they're all fucking fakes. Adrian Adams is a fake. Brad Lander's a fake. Scott Stringer's a fake. Fuck these people. Fuck them. If they're doing anything to attack Zoran, fuck them. Now, Zoran is doing the smart thing, which is he's going to their voters to be like, I like Adrian too. Just rank me above Cuomo. That's a smart move. But you and I are not Zoran. You and I are different people. So we can help Zoran by being a little bit dirtier, a little bit meaner, a little bit more strategic. We don't have to be nice like him. We're not Zoran. We're on Zoran's side. We're his covert ops. We're the black fighters. We're the irregulars. We don't have to be nice like him. Now, if I were to become part of his campaign, then I would be nice because I would be following his directions. Since I'm not, I get to do whatever the fuck I want. You talked about the downsides of splitting the campaign, but so many right-wingers are getting duped into voting zone. I mean, honestly, Grev, such a good point. Since people are since right-wingers are are voting Zoran 5, you're right. It's fine. In the long run, on the left, we should try to eliminate more progressives. You know, we shouldn't rely on this, like, the ranked choice to save us, because you're not going to win because of ranked choice, really. We need to, like, consolidate progressive money and support around one candidate, because getting their name out there is so hard. When you have like 5 progressive candidates, it wastes money. And like, there are strategies I've seen of like, oh, you know, we run another progressive candidate and so that they could get the New York City matching funds. And there might be an argument there, but only if the campaigns kind of coordinate and do a non-aggression pacts and use it to attack the centrist. We just need more coordination and more consolidation of support. Don't get me wrong, I'm a #1 Zoran for sure, but I really enjoyed Lander. I mean, if you want to put Lander too, it doesn't matter. Go for it. All right, let's keep talking about this Rye Beard shit. Then we'll get into more
his audience to harass
LA
people,
stuff.
literally tells them, you know, go and talk to this person, you know, go and talk to their employer, find their personal information for me. Every single fucking stream he does that. Ryan Beard's fine with that. Yet for me, he just straight up makes shit up, takes shit out of context, and lies about it to accuse me of what his idol does. So I'm releasing the logs, Ryan. Gotta clear my name from your smears. You brought this upon yourself.
Oh, man. Bad Empanada is just winning. Can I just say that I am so gratified? I am so gratified to watch Bad Empanada winning, and it's so fucking awesome. Nobody deserves it more, honestly. Didn't Lander say he would visit Israel if he could visit anywhere? Yeah. I mean, as I said before, I would only vote for Zoran if I were NYC. I would only vote for Zoran if I were in NYC. I wouldn't vote for a single other person. As far as on the mayor's race, I would vote for other people in the other positions, but that's it. Okay, what else was I going to talk about? Trump is renaming the army bases back to the Confederate loser names. Lander said Canada, not Israel. Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Zoran is encouraging everyone to rank all 5 spots and not rank Cuomo. Okay, guys, I'll explain it to you one more time. Zoran is trying to be nice to the other candidates so that their voters rank him above Cuomo. But you and I know that that is a strategy and we don't care. And we're all voting for Zoran #1. So we should only vote for Zoran because fuck those people because they're shit. Now he's being nice because he wants people to vote him above Cuomo because that's how he'll win. But you and I, we know how the system works so well. We're just bullet voting for Zoran because fuck all those other people. Our deal with China is done. Subject to final approval with President Xi and me. Full magnets and any necessary rare earths will be supplied upfront by China. Likewise, we provided China what was agreed to, including Chinese students using our colleges and universities, which has always been good with me. And we are getting a total of 55% tariffs. China's getting 10%. Relationship is excellent. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Is this a tariff cut? Is this a tariff cut? I think this is a tariff cut. I think it's actually a tariff cut. Biden finalizes China tariff hikes, including for EVs, batteries, and solar panels. Administration increases for this year will be 100% tariff on EVs, a 25% tariff on lithium-ion EV batteries, and a 50% tariff on photovoltaic solar cells. The dramatic tariff hikes. Medical gloves, they raised the tariffs as well. Do you want any links recognizing the EU statehood recognition of Palestine? Oh, of course. President Trump says tariffs on China won't be as high as 145%. It will come down substantially, but won't be zero. I mean, we've said this for a while now. That there would be, that it's Taco Trump. Fred says it obtains Palestinian reform pledge ahead of conference. Fred said on Tuesday that it obtained new commitments for the Palestinian Authority reform ahead of a conference next week at which Paris could become the most prominent Western power to back the recognition of an independent Palestinian state. President Emmanuel Macron received a letter from Mahmoud Abbas in which the Palestinian president condemns October 7th and Hamas attack in Israel, calls on all hostages to be released, and pledges further reforms. The letter to Macron, which is working on organizing an international conference with Saudi Arabia to discuss recognition of Palestine, contains unprecedented pledges, Macron's office said, without elaborating. Hamas will no longer rule Gaza and must hand over its weapons and military capabilities to the Palestinian security forces, which will oversee their removal outside the occupied Palestinian territory with Arab and international support. Hamas said that Abbas has no legitimacy to speak about the resistance arms. Israel has said it will not accept any role for the Palestinian Authority in Gaza after the war and has denounced countries that consider recognizing Palestinian independence, which it said would reward Hamas for its attacks. French officials have said Macron is leaning toward recognizing a Palestinian state ahead of the UN conference with France and Saudi Arabia are co-hosting. There's a lot of factors here. The first is the two-state platitude is pathetic. That being said, the more states recognize Palestine as a state, the more likely it is that Israel's maximalist position is fundamentally eroded and the justifications for the war start to fall away completely because they will be illegally invading another sovereign recognized state. So for the purpose of stopping the immediate genocide, this gives Palestinians more of a advantage. The other thing is the Palestinians get a state with 30% of their land. That gives them a point to build from. That is a position that advances their goals of the one state solution. You know, as like, come on, like, of course the Europeans are fucking worthless. Like, of course they are. Of course they are. Okay, let's get into let's start talking about the LA protests and the rapid rise of fascism. Sympathizer Chris Hayes finally made a video that isn't bad.
The term secret police invokes a kind of haunting specter when you hear it. When we see representations of secret police in the movies or in history, we immediately identify it with a certain kind of regime, one that tramples people's liberty with no accountability. We associate it with authoritarian governments and dictatorships like the Soviet Union, where people, usually armed, can wield the authority of the state but are themselves totally unaccountable in the same way. Whatever issues there are with American policing, and there are many, many of which we've covered here, at least our police officers have names on their uniforms and badge numbers. Now, in the Trump-Stephen Miller era of immigration and renditioning, one cannot help but notice in clip after clip, in interaction after interaction, that the people enacting these raids have all the qualities you associate with the concept of secret police. They are usually masked, hiding their faces, and either wearing plain clothes or irregular uniforms. They won't give their names or say what agency they're with. Watching it, it feels wrong and weird and alien and menacing, like an irregular paramilitary operation or people gathering to rob a bank, as one observer said. It does not feel like law enforcement officials subject to the authority of a democratic government. It's so striking in scene after scene. You see regular people asking masked agents, who are you? What part of the government are you from? What are you doing? We saw something like that in one of the first videos made public, the arrest of Columbia student and lawful resident Mahmoud Khalil, where plainclothes officers apprehended him in the lobby of his building and pointedly refused to identify themselves or who they were with.
Let me ask, can we get a name, please, can we get your name? I understand the lawyer is asking for your name.
Over there. No, we don't give our name.
The lawyer's asking for your name. He's saying they don't give their names.
They don't give our name, that man said, after handcuffing and detaining a legal resident of this country.
Here's the thing. I am not saying that you should resist ICE because we all know what happens. There's an old saying in the legal profession. You can't resist. You can beat the rap, but you can't beat the ride. Now, in this world, I don't know that you can beat the rap anymore. With due process going the way of the dodo, I don't know that you can beat the rap anymore. But what that saying really means is if the cops are determined to arrest you, they have the ability to endlessly escalate violence. I mean, the best analogy to really understand this is the video game series Grand Theft Auto and the star system. Like when you commit crimes in Grand Theft Auto, in the as police observe it or civilians who report you, there's this like escalating star level where it starts out with cops like chasing you and trying to arrest you, all the way to a military response. And that's the reality with these officials. They could be totally and completely in the wrong. They could be violating their rights. They could be abusing you. But because they have color of law, if you resist them, it's going to be a spiraling of escalation. And the justification of the spiral will be your resistance. So let's keep all of that in mind when we say, if somebody comes up to me and says, I'm with a law enforcement agency, but I'm not going to tell you my name, I am not going with them. A stranger could do that. You can buy a police patch on fucking Amazon. Like, this entire outfit you could purchase. How the fuck do I know you're actually a cop? This is just a kidnapping. And like, that's kind of the crisis, because on the one hand, I don't want to tell people to resist law enforcement unlawfully. That would be fucking stupid, because as we said before, this spiraling escalation of violence. But at the same time, if somebody walks up to me and claims to be a cop and they don't prove it, I'm not going with them. I'm not going to let myself be kidnapped off the fucking street. So that's a system that needs to be reformed. That's why police have to get warrants. That's why they have to be in marked vehicles. That's why cops have uniforms. It's so that people understand, oh, the person that is arresting me has the right to do so under the law, and I am surrendering myself to the lawful authorities. And because they're lawful authorities, I'll have the opportunity to have my case heard in court, and I'll have the right to habeas corpus, and I'll have the right to face my accuser, and I'll have the right to get a defense, right? So that's why we comply. We comply because we know there's at least a procedure where my rights will be respected. That's why we comply. If you get rid of those rights, compliance is going to go away too. And this is how you get a society to fall apart. And the fascists are like, well, we're going to get rid of the rights and we're going to escalate the repression. And that is civil fucking war. One of Canada's most recent and notorious mass shootings was done by a dude in a genuine RCMP uniform and a faked cruiser. Yeah, of course. Of course. How'd they even figure out who he was? Like, it probably took forever. I don't even know that story, but it makes perfect sense.
The search is on for a man impersonating a law enforcement officer in Mayfair. He went into a business on Sunday, tied up a woman and robbed her. Today, police are sharing new information about the suspect, hoping it will all lead to his arrest. It is Tuesday afternoon. I'm Brian Taff.
And I'm Christy Aletto. The big story on Action News is the investigation into the police impersonator that terrified a woman. The images of the suspect are clear and will hopefully lead police to this responsible person.
Yeah, Action News is Walter Perez live where this all played out along Harbison Avenue with new details about this terrifying encounter. Walter.
That's right, Brian and Christy. The woman reportedly saying she was zip-tied for more than an hour before she broke herself free and called for help. And that help wasn't too far away. Northeast Detectives is located right next door.
These are surveillance images of a man behind a brazen robbery at this auto repair shop located right next door to Northeast Detectives headquarters this past Sunday afternoon. Captain Jack Ryan says the suspect, who was wearing a makeshift law enforcement outfit, presented himself as
I legitimately could, if prompted, create perfect uniforms. I know exactly how to make perfect uniform. Like, I could make a perfect Marine uniform. I know exactly where to look for for perfect uniform compliance. I could get a perfect compliant haircut. I could get the exact boots they use. I could get everything. I could make a perfect uniform. I could dress it properly. I could, I could prepare it. I could crease it. I could blouse it. I know everything. I could make a complete full Marine uniform. In fact, I could fucking walk up to the Marines and they would think I was one of them. I could fucking do that. I literally could do that. It would not take me much effort. I could do the same thing with an LAPD police uniform. I could do the same thing with the fucking SWAT team. I could get every single piece of equipment they have and make a perfect copy. And it wouldn't even take me that much time. So, like, the idea that we're going to allow people to just walk around and say, I'm ICE, and not require warrants, and not require badges, and not have any procedures. This is creating a situation where legitimacy of law enforcement is fundamentally and thoroughly defeated. This is failing state shit. I want you to understand that we're entering a period of extreme danger. This is the type of shit that makes people just stop listening and complying. This is fucking stupid.
Not long after that, we got this infamous video of the arrest of Tufts graduate student Ramesa Ozturk. She was snatched off the street by masked agents and led away in handcuffs. Also in Massachusetts, there was this chilling scene from last month where masked agents apparently refused to provide a warrant before breaking a car window and forcibly removing a man that they say was in the country illegally.
Do you have a warrant for arresting this man?
Kevin, you're here illegally. I already know that. That's all I need to establish.
I need to see a warrant. You have masked men taking people, abducting people without a warrant, without IDs.
Just last weekend, this was seen in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, where again, masked agents detained an apparently undocumented gardener at his place of work, all while his employers asked questions. Why are you doing this? In San Diego, same weekend, residents managed to hold back what appeared to be heavily armed, militarized agents who were reportedly just executing.
Like, I know exactly what you would need to do to fake being any of these things, and I know exactly what you want to know how. Okay, well, the first thing you need to do is learn all the shibboleths of the thing you're trying to impersonate, right? So, for example, for the Marines, you need to go and look and learn about the process of enlistment, the different ranks. Like you know, memorize the all the ranks of the Marine Corps, the enlisted branch, the officer corps. Learn how the officers and enlisted are formed in rifle elements. You learn about the structure of the rifle battalion. You would learn. You would study uniform regulations. Just go and look. They make it easy. They have a bunch of dummies that are Marines, so the Marines need to know how to make their uniform compliant with the code. So there's plenty of places you can look to learn how to make a perfectly compliant uniform. You can go look up the grooming standards, and then you just copy the grooming standards. You can probably buy all of this stuff quite easily online. You can look up at the equipment they're using. You could go look at TikToks of different active duty Marines and what equipment they're using, how they prepare their uniforms. You go read about infantry school. You go learn about basic training and the processes. You look for different shibboleths. Shibboleths are just things that people in a group say to each other to prove that you're part of the group. It wouldn't take you that long. It's not that hard.
An immigration raid on a local business and several local businesses. And we've also got these stories of all kinds of really unsettling lies, manipulation, subterfuge. So eyewitnesses in Tucson, Arizona, saying that agents.
Mike, your online activity and ordering would flag you. Just go to surplus stores and buy in cash. Yeah, depending on exactly how clandestine you want to get. Tactical Todds are ordering this stuff all the time. It's not that suspicious. I mean, if you actually do something, depending on exactly what you do, this is something that I think people don't understand, is that the cops don't investigate most crimes. The reason why criminals get away with shit is because cops don't actually do their jobs. But if you do something bad enough, then the actual law enforcement and cops that do exist, and our government does have good investigators. Our government does have intelligence services. Like, if you are a big enough threat, they will actually do their jobs. And they will find you. They will find you. Unless you really understand the nature of investigation and that every single thing they see, the shape of your face, there's a lot of things that you need to take into account that you may not really understand. They couldn't find the CEO shooter, allegedly Luigi. I mean, they did, didn't they? I mean, they did. Regular people reporting shit is part of the risk. Allegedly they did. But you know what I mean? So Luigi kept the gun he allegedly Luigi had the gun he used days later, which is fucking crazy. The very first thing I would do if I had been Luigi is I would have had a crucible going, and I would have disassembled the gun, and I would have melted the gun into a fucking block of metal and taken it to a goddamn scrapyard or buried it somewhere. You know what I mean? Or dumped it into the bottom of a pond. What is a lump of metal at the bottom of the pond going to tell you? Keeping the gun is insane. You disassemble the gun and toss the parts along the way of a 100-mile trip? Nah. You're actually increasing the odds of something being found, and then that's too systemic. That's too systemic. You have to think of stuff much more randomly than that. You have to destroy stuff completely. Only the barrel at FCU are metal. The rest is 3D. That's even more pathetic. Destroy that shit. Again, it's easy for me to backseat Luigi, but I'm just saying that the number one reason why people get caught is because they don't think things through. Cops catch people because they admit to it and they brag. They don't even consider how an investigator would actually proceed. If you actually try to hide the shit and you think about things logically and thoroughly, they'll have a much harder time.
As city utility workers as part of an arrest attempt. There's been reports of agents gaining access to homes under the guise of performing wellness checks on children. All this feels like something distinct from the normal forms of policing and law enforcement you're used to. As the writer M. Gesson, who was born in the Soviet Union, put in a recent column for the New York Times, the United States has become a secret police state. Trust me, I've seen it before. Adding, the citizens of such a state live with a feeling of being constantly watched. They live with a sense of random danger. Anyone, a passerby, the man behind you in line at the deli, the woman who lives down the hall, your building super, your own student, your child's teacher, can be a plainclothes agent or a self-appointed enforcer. This administration is treating people as if they have no rights, as if they can be rounded up at a whim, as if they don't get to have any kind of due process or have to show cause or get warrants. That is the legal theory of Stephen Miller, that immigrants in this country do not have rights, even though very clearly that's not true. This can't be stressed enough. The Constitution is clear on this in its plain text in the 14th Amendment, for instance. The precedent is clear on this. Even Supreme Court justices as conservative as the late Antonin Scalia have been clear on this. Immigrants have constitutional rights. They have due process rights. But the Trump administration and Stephen Miller believe the state can do whatever it wants to these people. Now, we should note Trump's border czar Tom Homan says the agents are wearing masks for their own safety.
And why they're wearing masks? They're wearing masks because they're trying to protect themselves and their families. Agents are getting doxxed every day. Their pictures and phone numbers being put on telephone poles. These leftists are following and filming when they go home from work at night.
In a statement to NBC News about these recent ICE crackdowns, Assistant Homeland Security Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said, under Secretary Noem, we are delivering on President Trump's and the American people's mandate to arrest and deport criminal illegal aliens and make America safe.
75 Democrats signed a document praising ICE. 75 Democrats signed a document praising ICE. I had it. Oh, fuck. Where is it? I had this shit. China offers zero tariff access to 53 African countries, excluding Eswatini. Thank you for finding it. 75 Democrats expressed gratitude to ICE and anti-Semitism vote amid LA riots. There was also an organization called Welcome Fest. Who are the politicians at Welcome Fest? Let's see if we can find it. Okay, so let's see here. We have Richie Torres. Is Richie Torres in this? Oh, it's Richie Torres. Okay, let's see here. Jared Golden. Okay. Marie Gustenkamp Perez. Oh, hey. Let's see. Adam Gray. Oh, there he is. So every single person who participated in the Abundance event also is supporting ICE's fascism. If you are an Abundance supporter, you are a dumb fucking piece of shit. Period. Dot. The end of story. Mike from Pennsylvania, we also listened to Chapo. They already did an ep on this. They did.
I'm a Jewish New Yorker. I'm a Jewish New Yorker. I'm a Jewish New Yorker.
I'm a Jewish New Yorker.
And I'm ranking Zoran #1 in the Democratic primary on June 24th. Again and again, Jews and socialists are targeted, scapegoated, and villainized by the fascist far right and their corrupt cronies.
Even in 2025, when we stand up for the right to free speech,
for the human rights of our Muslim siblings,
for due process under the law.
We're told by some that we're self-hating.
We're told we're traitors.
Not real Jews. But what Andrew Cuomo doesn't know is that the struggle for freedom and justice is central to Judaism and has been for thousands of years.
My Judaism informs my values, my socialist politics, and my vote.
A lot of mayoral candidates are claiming that they stand with Jewish New Yorkers.
But when they share their vision of the city, it's one of division, hate, and corruption.
A New York City where the mayor's friends profit from their connections, while Trump's goon squads can disappear anyone they think is un-American.
I trust Zoran Mamdani to stand up for me and my Jewish community.
For all New Yorkers.
As a Jewish DSA member, I'm proud to stand alongside people of all faiths to say no to Andrew Cuomo's corruption. And yes to Zoran Mamdani's vision for the New York City we all deserve.
That means yes to fast and free buses, universal childcare, and freezing the rent. If Andrew Cuomo thinks that makes me less of a Jew,
that's just one more reason why he's unfit to represent us.
Paid for by Zoran for NYC.
Honest to God.
I'm a Jewish New Yorker.
What a based fucking ad. This is what I'm talking about. You stand up to these people right to their face and you say, fuck you. You don't go like, well, I like you. You don't accept their framing at all. You say, you are a fucking liar. And respect our elders. I want to can I thank the Zoomers for being a young generation that is profoundly uncool so that the cult of youth can end in America once and for all? Thank fucking God. Zoomers being the generation of fearful tryhards is fucking amazing. It is so funny. Like, oh, I'm so scared of being cringe on my social medias. It's like, who gives a fuck? Guys, I wear Crocs ironically. Like, bitch, just wear Crocs because they're comfortable and you don't feel like wearing like uncomfortable shoes. Who gives a shit? No, see, I'm doing it ironically because I'm, it's like, who gives a shit? You don't always want to dress up. Sometimes you want to be comfortable and go to the grocery store. I get it. Stop acting like it's some sort of statement. Amazing. The one thing I will say about these sociopaths is the reason why, like, sometimes people ask me, like, the centrists have lost over and over and over again, and they've been in power the entire time. How are they able to be like this? How are they able to act so confidently? How are they able to continually offer the same prescription no matter what happens? And the answer is they are corrupt. They are not thinking about politics like you're thinking about politics. Like, when you think about politics, you probably think about winning, right? You probably think of like, oh, that didn't work. Maybe we should try this. And like you have larger goals, like you believe that everybody should have health care. We should be trying to create policies that get everybody health care. How do we like move the pieces around to get everybody health care? That might be how you look at politics. That is not how they look at politics. They look at politics like, I am a politician. I am a consultant. I am a commentator. How do I make money? How do I get into positions of power? That's it. And the answer they come up with is, I will go to the rich and I will tell them exactly what they want to hear, and I will be their faithful servant. The most surefire way to make myself money is to go where the money is. They do not care about politics or winning or any of that shit. It's all about their own interest. And so how do we defeat that? A lot of society is a lot like this. A lot of systems are like this, where the people who play for their own individual gain. Whereas those people that are naively trying to help others, they have less resources over time, right? So how do we defeat that? Well, the answer is you and I have to punish people who act like this. You and I have to make it so much of a penalty to be a sociopath. We have to make it a huge penalty to be a centrist. We have to make it damaging for your career. You need to become persona non grata. You need to be humiliated. You need to be hated. You need to feel stress. Make sociopaths afraid again. That's what makes a functioning society. Sociopaths are part of the human experience. Some percentage of people are sociopath. Some people are latent sociopaths who may learn sociopathic behaviors under the wrong conditions. And so if we want to constrain the number of, we need to make it rational to be solidaristic. We need to make it make sense for sociopaths to participate and to comply in order for society to function. And that's why China's death penalty for corruption is such an effective and good idea. The more power a person has, the more criminal punishment they should receive when they fuck over society. The less power, the more we should be focused on rehabilitation. The more power, the more we should be focused on punishment. And that's the way we should look at society. If you are acting from a position of comfort and power and you abuse people, you should be punished. If you're operating from a position of marginalization and mental illness and desperation, we should be focusing on ameliorating those causes. But in our society, it's the opposite. In our society, we punish the most vulnerable the most strictly. It is the homeless man that steals $100 that gets a life in prison. And it is the executive who embezzles millions who gets 3 years at Club Med. It should be the opposite. And that is why China under Xi has been improving so much. Because that's the philosophy of punishment that the Chinese Communist Party is adopting. And quite frankly, I agree with that. If you're a billionaire and you hurt babies for money, you should be killed or put in prison for life. KK Caroline calling the Gitmo expansion story fake news is a bold move, especially when you signed an executive order about it. This story is fake news, not happening. Expanding Migrant Operations Center at Naval Station Guantanamo Bay to full capacity. Kamala Harris into dust. I mean, like, in a just society, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden would be in prison right now for genocide. Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, they would all be in prison right now for genocide. That is the reasonable position. If an alien warped into orbit and looked at humanity today, that would be their just and objective conclusion. If Glorp was looking down, he would be like, why are these murderers walking free? Blinken, Stephen Miller, John Kirby, they would be in Glorp's fucking rehabilitation center immediately. That's how I think you should examine human society, is if a powerful but benevolent alien warped into our fucking orbit tomorrow, what would they say? Had Glorp? Why do so many people have Glorp? Why do so many people have Glorp? Is this a meme I don't understand? Because it's good? Okay. I was just making sure it wasn't some sort of dog whistle, you know? I'm sorry for protecting my community and caring about memes before I just mindlessly adopt them. Errors, you know, mistakes. We try to avoid them. No one is infallible. Okay, Glorp should be working now. I am not using that, Oliver. I am not using Glorp feet.
Joining Felix and I right now is Matt Brunig. Matt, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, the buzzword of the moment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love abundance. So, reading abundance is so funny because I could turn to any page and within a few lines find something that's just a lie. Let me give you an example. Let me just like open it up here. Hold on. Perhaps you've heard the cliche that the economy is a pie that we must grow rather than slice. It's hard to know where to begin with this image, with what this image gets wrong, because it gets almost nothing right. If you somehow grew a blueberry pie, you'd get more blueberry pie. But economic growth is not the addition of sameness. The difference between an economy that grows and an economy that stagnates is change. When you grow an economy, you hasten a future that is different. The more growth there is, the more radically the future diverges from the past. But I've settled on a metaphor for growth that erases its most important characteristic. When productivity surges, what we get is not more of what we had, but new things we never imagined. Now, that, ladies and gentlemen, is banal. It is also fundamentally what is wrong with American society is that it is wrong. Why America is failing is because we're getting less education. We're getting less housing. We're getting less transportation. We are actually failing on the fundamental pillars of what make a human life livable. We're producing less housing per person than we used to. We're charging more to get a college education. Like, our productivity is decreasing for the things that you and I need. And the productivity that's going up is paper pushing. It's financialization. It's layers of bureaucracy. We're producing less shit for you to consume, especially here in the United States. It's just fundamentally wrong word salad bullshit. And what they're saying, basically, that's just neoliberalism in a nutshell, which is they told the Rust Belt, you're going to lose all your manufacturing, but you're going to get all sorts of new jobs where you learn to code. But now people are losing those jobs. The people that learned to code 10 years ago or 5 years ago are losing their jobs now. What is the replacement? And places like Pittsburgh and Philadelphia have not recovered. Detroit has not recovered. It's just not true. And the idea that the manufacturing jobs are erased by robots is a fucking lie. There are 120 million manufacturing jobs in China today. 120 million manufacturing jobs in China today. They're at the peak of American manufacturing glory. We had 19 million manufacturing jobs. We're now down to, I think, like 11 million. How many manufacturing jobs are there in the US? I'm sorry, 2 million. I'm sorry, 12 million. 12.7 million. Okay. So in other words, America gave up 9 million manufacturing jobs, and there are 120 million manufacturing jobs in China. So the idea that like manufacturing jobs, they just disappeared and they were replaced by robots is bullshit. And the reason why China is becoming and growing at 5% per year, which is a rate that the United States has never grown at in a consistent, sustained way, is because they are manufacturing and producing in their country. They have the manufacturing jobs, and they're not just using them to squeeze their workers to the maximum degree. They're investing in productivity enhancing infrastructure. And they are investing in human capital, which means training and education and schools. Google says China has over 200. Oh, how many manufacturing jobs are in China? Let's see. China's manufacturing sector employs a vast forward with estimates ranging from 128 million to over 217 million. I always go with the low estimates because that's just me. So there you go. I said 120 million. Google's AI is saying 128 million. According to Statistia, it's 217 million. So there are not even 217 million adults in jobs in America. So the idea like, oh, manufacturing jobs, they don't exist anymore. It's just a blatant fucking lie. And of course it is. Of course it's ridiculous. But these neoliberal liars be like, for example, Obama literally went to people and said those jobs they're not coming back. And within 10 years, his vice president is saying, we're going to bring them back. So which is it? Do they not exist? Are they not coming back? Or should they come back? And these are the same exact people. Now, those of us on the left, we called this out from the beginning. We said these jobs are not going to disappear. They're going to just go overseas where the workers don't have as high of wages, where they don't have as much environmental protection and labor protection and unions. And the American manufacturing industry wasn't killed by our labor costs. It was killed by capital flight and capitalist exploitation. And just this account of history, what I'm saying is a provable, objective, measurable fact. What they said in abundance is nonsense bullshit. I mean, you can't turn a page without it being bullshit. The first thing I read in here that made me start laughing was their comment on nuclear power. And it just shows how much they don't understand. I think it's on page 1. Wait, hold on. No. That was their stupid vision of utopia. Hold on. 14. That was the page. That was the page where I laughed out loud for the first time. By some counts, nuclear power is safer than wind and cleaner than solar. It is inarguably safer than burning coal and petrol. Yet in the US, facing a crisis of global warming, has almost stopped building nuclear power reactors and plants entirely. Between 1973 and 2024, the country started and finished only 3 new nuclear reactors, and it has shut down more nuclear plants than it's opened in most of our lifetimes. That is not a failure of the private market to responsibly bear risk, but of the federal government to properly weigh risk. That is a complete bullshit. That is absolute and complete bullshit. The reason why nuclear power is not constructed is because of market logic and market logic alone, which is that they cannot borrow money cheaply enough in order to finance nuclear reactors. If you actually study the nuclear power industry for any length of time, the number one impediment is the interest rates that banks are charging. It is finance costs. That is it. It is not regulatory burdens. Now, you could probably reduce the regulatory burdens, and that I'm in favor of that. But the thing holding nuclear power back is not regulations, it's capital. It's capital saying, I can make my money back faster with a gas plant. And I don't care about the negative externalities, so I'm going to build a gas plant. That's why. Because building a nuclear plant requires more capital up front, which means you have to borrow more up front, which means what? More interest being charged. And how do we know this? The answer we know this is AI companies look to nuclear. Why is this happening? More tech companies eyeing nuclear power for AI energy. Why is this? They're looking at the reason why they're eyeing it is because they're going to consume the entire nuclear energy output. And so they will basically build the nuclear power plant at 0% interest using capital they raised from equity. And when they raise capital from equity, as opposed to borrowing it, as a traditional nuclear plant would, and because they're going to consume all the power, then the calculation they're looking at is what is the cost to produce power with 0% interest on capital. And the answer is it's very cheap. Nuclear energy then becomes cheap. The reason why nuclear energy is expensive is because of capitalism. The reason why the Chinese are building 150 nuclear plants and we're building 0 is because they are borrowing money at 1.5% interest because it's government-owned enterprise. And so they can properly value the electricity and the carbon of nuclear plants. It is not because of regulations. This is a fucking lie. And this is the problem with abundance from the beginning. They do not know, they basically don't understand how anything works. And there's a reason why, for example, why does China now have 50,000 miles of high-speed rail? And they're borrowing billions of dollars to do it. They're not doing it from grants. What the government is doing is they're borrowing money at 1 or 2% interest, and they're giving it to their electric train company, and they're building 50,000 miles of high-speed rail, and they keep the debt for that high-speed rail on the books of the state-owned high-speed rail company. And guess what? They're profiting. Even though they have hundreds of billions of dollars of debt, they're actually profiting. They're paying off their own debt from fares. They're paying for their own construction and expansion with fares. But because the interest rate is low, 1.5%, 2%, they're able to actually self-finance high-speed rail. That's how it's working. The reason why China is working is they're cutting out the fucking financial parasites. And this is why abundance is useless. This is why it's fucking wrong. Because the reason why affordable housing isn't constructed is because you can't borrow the money. You're going to borrow the money at 7% interest? There's no way you can make it work. It is not regulations. It is not zoning. It is you cannot make it pencil out. Land value is too high. The financing expense is too high. That's the reason why. And that's why the government is positioned so much better to actually fix these problems. It's like actually ridiculous. And by the way, you could just, what prevents nuclear power from being built? Financial and it is high costs and long construction times. Like that is it. It is financing. And in fact, what was that nuclear physics professor videos? What's his fucking name? Fuck. Yeah, this guy. This fucking guy, David Ruzick. He talked about this last week. We watched the video on it. He talked about it last week.
My name's David Ruzick.
He literally talked about the financing
that are in progress today.
And part of the reason why it takes so long to build shit in the US is because of financing. Like the reason why it takes 15 years to build one fucking train station in New York is because they can't get the money. So they have to stretch it out to multiple cycles. And the longer you sit there idling, the more consulting time you have to spend, the more like dead weight you have to dead consulting and management layers that just sit there inert, not doing anything.
So what about the cost? The detractors of nuclear power's best argument against nuclear power is it costs too much to build. Everyone will agree that if everything goes right and the thing runs for 40 years, its price comes down because the fuel costs are so much less. It still takes an enormous capital investment. And you can look at this in terms of the dollars per kilowatt hour capacity of the reactor. It's a good comparison number. And amazingly, in China, they can do it much cheaper and faster than we can do it in the West. They're Chinese.
Now, a lot of people tell themselves the reason why China is able to do this stuff cheaper and easier is because they're authoritarians and they slave drive people or something, or they ignore the environment or some other bullshit lies. You don't think that's happening in fucking Texas? You think they're worrying about the environment in Texas? You think they're treating their workers well in Texas? They don't even give them fucking water breaks. It's just made up cockamamie bullshit to distract from the fact But the reason why China has been able to do so much of this stuff is because they're cutting out the fucking parasitic financial capital middlemen. That's the dirty little secret of China's success, is they don't have parasites stealing all of their money through financialization. They focus their money on the engineers, and they focus their money on processes, and they focus their money on doing shit, and they see capital and financing as a necessary evil, but one in which they look to minimize instead of, in the United States, we try to maximize it.
His design, the one that was based off of the French design, 2600.
What is the classical economic reason to not do government low interest loans? The answer is, what they would say is the government, if it makes a mistake, then it will cause an even bigger crisis to the country because you're going to crowd out other investments, right? Like the resources being done by the government means you're going to crowd out other investments that the market might do, because government loans are lower risk. So if the government is paying, taking loans, then there's no chance of default on those loans. So it's basically free money. So when you have the government spending money and making and borrowing money, private investors have to offer higher interest rates in order to compete, which makes it more expensive to do private action. That's their argument.
One based off the AP 1000 design, 2440. These are real numbers because they've built them for this cost. This is about 1/3 the cost of the last reactor we built in the state. So
if somebody wanted to use a biological analogy, it's like trying to bodybuild when you have tapeworms versus somebody who doesn't have tapeworms. Exactly. And that's why we're going to lose. Because China, the thing about their capitalist class, the thing about the Communist Party in general, is that they're actually technocrats. They're actually meritocratic. The Chinese Communist Party has actually built a technocratic meritocracy. They actually did it. They made a science-based, technocratic, results-based, consequentialist government. We don't have that. Full government support and control. How do they do that? Full government support and control. This is not a socialist. This is a nuclear engineer. He's not a socialist. Yet he's saying what I'm saying. He's saying the reason why China can do it is full government support and control. That is why abundance will fail, because they don't say this. The book leaves this out. You have our world superpower competition, China. They're doing the shit we say we want to do, and you don't use them as an example. You don't study what they're doing. That is an ideological project. That is a propaganda project. And that's why Derek Thompson and that's why Ezra Klein are fucking worthless. And that's why they're liars. They don't believe in abundance. They believe in neoliberalism. And they are wrapping the same fucking program with new wrapping paper for the 8th fucking time. I mean, you could always learn Mandarin and move to China. I mean, I wish I knew Mandarin. But the thing is, I am not like you. I'm not a fucking idiot liberal. I see stuff working in other countries. I have friends, unlike you. I have family who love me, unlike you. So I am deeply rooted in the United States of America. So I want this country to improve. Yes, I know China's better than the US. I could decide to take my family and move to China and live a great life and say, fuck you. I can move to Vienna and I live a great life and say, fuck you. But guess what? I'd rather help you with the knowledge I have and point you in the right direction. I'd rather make my country better than abandon it selfishly. Now, if I have to, if I'm forced to, I will. But I'm going to be here fighting to the last ounce of energy and effort and plausibility. And I'm going to teach you the facts, whether you like it or not.
How does China do this? Well, they do it because all of the power plants in China are government-controlled, government-run. And they can loan up to 70% of the money to make these projects work at ridiculously low interest, like 1.4%.
So there you have it. Exactly what I was saying. They don't even mention the reason why nuclear power in abundance is happening in China is because they're cutting out the financial parasite middleman. Now, they are charging interest. Why? Because the government doesn't want to have investments that don't actually help the country, right? So you do charge some interest to pay for what? Inflation. China has basically no inflation. So these interest rates ensure that the government gets their investment back, but they have this capital improvement done, right? So they build the nuclear power plants, and then they get the money back, and they have a nuclear power plant. So they have gigajoules of energy, and they have their own money back. And so that's called development. You build a nuclear power plant. The nuclear power plant produces energy cheaply for the country, carbon free. Then it pays the loans back, and now you have the money to invest in another thing. That's how China is winning. Is they're cutting out Wall Street. They're cutting out the parasite middleman, which is what's killing America. That's what's killing America. And they do it on thing after thing after thing. China's railway debts climbs even higher as profits recover. So China built 50,000 kilometers of high-speed rail. China State Railway Group reported a second straight year of net profit, but the company's debt mounted as it poured more money into expanding its rail network. Revenue rose 3%, while net profit grew 70%. So they built 50,000 miles of high-speed rail, and it's paying for itself. It's actually paying for itself. It's profiting as they're expanding. So this is the beginning. They just built it. They just borrowed the money, and it doesn't matter. It's profiting on its own. The government isn't giving them money to pay down the debt. It is profiting. In other words, the fares that they charge and the other income this company gets from running the high-speed rail and all the network and all the trains and all the employees and all the new construction, they're making net profit on 50,000. So they're doing 50,000 kilometers of high-speed rail and making money doing it. How? They cut out Wall Street. They cut out the parasites. It's not complicated. This isn't my opinion. This is facts reported by capitalists. This is facts reported by a nuclear engineer. This isn't my socialism that is shading the truth. So why doesn't this fact seem to penetrate the minds of neoliberal centrists? It's because they worship Wall Street. They worship capital. And so they want more financialization. That's why they talk about more health insurance companies. We need more choice on health insurance companies. Every single additional health insurance company is waste. A health insurance company is waste. It is a duplicative bureaucracy. Can you imagine if we were like, we're going to solve, hey guys, I'm going to solve the education issue. We're going to make 10 different departments of education, and they all need to compete for money, and we're going to hire 10 more bureaucracies. Is that going to educate a single fucking kid? That's the same. That's the way we do it with health insurance. We have 80 different health insurance companies. They do not provide health care. They're financing companies. They are parasites. They exist to deny care. They exist to charge premiums. They do not provide a single ounce of care. And this is neoliberalism. If you actually want to fix these problems, we need to attack the financialization of our economy. We need to attack the middlemen, the parasites that stand between you and the person doing the thing that you need. Whether it's your doctor, whether it's a carpenter, whether it's a nuclear physicist, whether it's an electrical train engineer. Those parasites, those middlemen are sucking our country dry. And the fact is, that's not really discussed as the major financial hurdle to abundance in this country. Why did the West love China for so long and then suddenly turn on it? Did they not realize the CCP was ideologically communist? Xi Jinping, the answer to that question is China was not, their economy wasn't large enough to dominate the United States. China's growth has now reached the point where it is larger than the United States of America. And the Chinese Communist Party under Xi is clearly a socialist party, and it represents a fundamental threat to the Western-dominated world order. And so they're panicking because China is not playing ball. They thought they could control China like they control India or Pakistan or Saudi Arabia, but they failed. They thought it was going to, the communists were going to crack up and be bought off by greed. They miscalculated. Let's back this up and watch this segment because it's very important.
The power plants in China are government-controlled, government-run, and they can loan up to 70% of the money to make these projects work at ridiculously low interest, like 1.4%. If you'd read the rest of this quote, covers more of the things that I've just been telling you about. And it's interesting that the United States has such a loan office, the Department of Energy Loan Program Office, that could do the same thing. It's designed to promote the types of projects that the government thinks are very important. And it has the ability to make similar types of loans, and has in the past, to other energy infrastructure. Now, what about technology? You might say, okay, China can copy all this, but they can't create it themselves. Not so true anymore. Nuclear Science and Engineering is probably the most prestigious journal for scientific literature in this particular field of power plants and new technology. And you can see that in the most highly cited papers, that line going up like this, that's China again, folks. And the lines coming down are Europe and the United States. So their knowledge about the technology is also very good. When people say China is on the rise, they are in many respects.
So, and here's the thing. America is this way because of people like Ezra Klein. And Derek Thompson. And it's very important that you understand this. And I have been pounding this drum since the beginning. And I would love to debate Ezra Klein. I would love to debate Derek Thompson. They're a fucking joke. Their book is a fucking joke. It's an embarrassment, quite frankly. I would just call it, from almost cover to cover, either banal or outright propaganda. So there's one fundamental truth in America that they're banking their entire thing to support on, which I agree with, which is there are too many veto points in America. It's too easy to block things in America. You can't do anything in America. And the answer for why that is people like Ezra Klein and Joe Manchin. They put these things in the way of government so that profiteers can make money. Why do you think you can't buy cars directly from manufacturers? Because car dealers veto that, and they have their tendrils throughout local government. Why do you think we can't have municipal broadband or government-owned broadband companies? Because Comcast and Spectrum and all these big ISPs block municipal broadband. Why do you think we cannot actually build anything in this fucking country, like ultra high voltage, high speed transmission lines? It's because fossil fuel companies block it. Why do you think we couldn't raise the minimum wage? Because the parliamentarian and the filibuster. America's problem is it has too many veto points. It has too many places for the rich and powerful to interfere using procedure. That's true. That is absolutely fucking true. But those blocks were put into place by people like Ezra Klein to keep the government competing with private enterprise. And now they're turning around and saying it's the left's fault?
I thought it would be simpler. They're on the shelf, they're made in the USA, buy them, they're this price. Very difficult. The next part of this story is very interesting. I had my parts and it was time to injection mold, and I went to a facility that does injection molding, and I said, can you make these parts? And they said, yes, we can make the parts. And I said, that's great. I would also like to make the molds here because I want to learn more about molds. And they said, oh no, we don't make molds here. And I said, why not? They said, we don't do that. We ship the part, the CAD file to China, and they make the mold and they send it back and then we injection mold. I said, no, that's not what I want to do. I don't want my intellectual property in China. I want to make it here. And they said, good luck. And this is the moment where this whole experiment came into focus for me. I realized at that moment, we're screwed. I think we're screwed as a nation if we can't do the intelligent work of tool and die, making the tools that make the things. It used to be that America did the smart thing, and then we would send the machine that we made to another country, and the country would operate the machine in the developing world. We have flipped it. We are now to the point where the smart stuff is done somewhere else, and they send us the machines, and we push the buttons to operate the machines. I need you to understand this, because I realize we have lost something very, very important. And we did it by lulling ourselves to sleep, by pushing money around and doing the intellectual property work, but not doing the manufacturing work. I think it was best put simply by the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, while sitting in China when he was asked a question about tooling.
There's a confusion about China that, and let me at least give you my opinion. The popular conception is that companies come to China because of low labor cost.
They would come home.
I'm not sure what part of China they go to, but the truth is China stopped being the low labor cost country many years ago. And that is not the reason to come to China from a supply point of view. The reason is because of the skill and the type of skill it is. Like the products we do require really advanced tooling. And the precision that you have to have in tooling and working with the materials that we do are state of the art. And the tooling skill is very deep here. You know, in the US, you could have a meeting of tooling engineers, and I'm not sure we could fill the room. In China, you could fill multiple football fields.
So Tim Cook said that in 2017 at the Fortune Global Forum.
And there you have it, really. Like, this is why I'm so harshly against this kind of centrist blather, because it's not real. It's not the problem. The problem is in America that the government has been corrupted and flayed apart and is used to be scammed from. And it's because of the ideological neoliberals. And we have to get rid of them. We have to beat them. We have to make them not part of the conversation anymore. Because look what happened with Build Back Better. Build Back Better, even if we had passed it, it probably would have been a disaster because they don't want to do what we need to do, which is government-owned enterprises, which means unions, which means grabbing Wall Street by the neck and strangling it to death. They don't have the ability to even figure out what the problem is. The problem is not, guys, I think we're protecting the endangered species too much.
It would smell like cutting fluid, and that smelled like work to me. It smelled like productivity. They made things, and everybody that I knew here locally in North Alabama. Is it possible to make something in America and be competitive in the marketplace? This video documents an experiment that lasted over 4 years. The goal was simple: to manufacture a product here in America. The challenge is that almost every single market force pushes manufacturing to make things overseas. What happens if you ignore those pressures and you just make something here anyways? This channel is supported by the patrons of Smarter Every Day. Their financial contributions are what allowed me to do this experiment, and I think it's very important. The global economic forces that have shaped the world since World War II are changing, and I believe people in your community who understand how to manufacture things are going to be even more critical in the coming years. My home is here in America, but this video's lessons doesn't just apply to America, it's wherever you live. If you can manufacture things locally, then that ensures your self-reliance, your stability, and ultimately your freedom. Let's explore this topic and go get smarter every day. I started this process with the goal of making everything you see here in America. All of these components go together to make one thing, and that thing is a grill scrubber. This is called the Smarter Scrubber, and we'll talk more about that later, but for now, I want to tell you how we're going to lay this video out. There's 3 parts to this video. The first part is why I wanted to do it. Like, why did I want to perform this experiment? Secondly, how it happened. Every component there has a story. I want to tell you the story of each of those components. And finally, I want to pitch you on buying that product. I want you to buy it, not because you're watching some YouTube video, but is it actually competitive in the market? Is this a thing that can exist on its own in the marketplace? I'm going to give you that pitch and we'll see. Part 1, why? Both my mom and my dad were union auto workers. United Auto Workers 2195 here locally in North Alabama. They made steering components for vehicles. My mom worked on the assembly line. My dad was in tool and gauge. When they would come home, they would smell like cutting fluid. And that smelled like work to me. It smelled like productivity. They made things. And everybody that I knew, their parents made things. Middle class America. The American dream was alive and well. And then things changed. With NAFTA and CAFTA, it wasn't one political party, it was everybody. Globally, things were changing so that it made more sense economically to move manufacturing facilities out of the United States, and that's exactly what happened. This is more than Destin is upset because NAFTA took mommy and daddy's job. I don't even know that NAFTA did take mommy and daddy's job. I think things were changing before that. So the global economy is so complicated, I could make a whole channel on it, but what I want to do is just take 60 seconds to demonstrate that I understand this is a complex topic, and I just want to throw some ideas out there and let you think about it, and then we're going to move on with this video. But it's just a really interesting.
And the point is that it was neoliberals in both parties that accomplished this, and the result was the destruction of America. I want you to understand this, that neoliberal ideologues did this, and the result has been the destruction of the United States, except for the hyper elite. We can't afford homes. We can't produce homes. We can't afford anything. Everything is sucking down out of the bottom. 85% are getting worse off. You know, between top 15 and top 5, they're like treading water. The top 5% are all benefiting. That's it. So if you're not in the top 15%, you're probably fucked.
Thing to think about. Okay, so a long time ago, things were better, right? That's called golden age thinking. Every civilization has done that. The idea that if we could just return to the way that things were, things would be better. That's a powerful, nostalgic thing, but it's not really accurate because.
By the way, I agree with this. I'm not saying we're going to return back to some glorious time in the past. I'm not saying we should go back. What I'm saying is we should go into the future. Now that we know what doesn't work, we should take the lessons and the technologies and the things that we know, and we build a better world. Some things about the past were good, but most of the things about the past sucked.
If you think about it, we went from this type of shipping to this type of shipping in 150 years. And that is analogous to the complexities of global trade, because wars were fought when we were using wooden boats. Imagine how complex the economics are when you go to boats like this with containerized shipping. In World War II, the Bretton Woods Accords in New Hampshire, America decided they were going to guarantee the shipping lanes would be open so global trade and global prosperity could happen. We started doing that. Everybody started doing good things. And then people started exploiting cheap labor in developing nations. And then profit became king. And so now we have billionaires and we have a wage gap. And it's very complicated. And so people are pushing factories overseas. And it's good for local communities overseas. But sometimes it's not. Okay, so that was impossible. I didn't even mention unions, collective bargaining agreements, all that stuff. It's a very complicated issue. And I'm not like, America is dominant and must be. No, that's not what I care about. I care about people. I love.
Well, you're going to love the future because America ain't going to be dominant. Because I want to be honest with you, chat. Unless somebody like me becomes president, this country's fucked. Ironically, the only way America could be saved is somebody like me or Zoran becomes president. I'm not saying me. I'm not the guy that should do it. I just mean somebody who understands that the weakness of America is Wall Street. And that has 0% chance of happening. Okay? There is a 0% chance of that happening.
People, and I think these issues are more than something that can be distilled down to like a one-line zinger that you can use to dunk on people who differ with your views politically. This is complicated, and we as people have to solve it because we're not agrarian anymore. We have industrialization that can make food, so we must produce things as people, not just in America, everywhere. I just don't want people to be exploited in the process. My answer to all of this is Jesus, the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But we have to figure this out. Let's move on with the video. I remember this period of time not understanding how important.
I love how this guy can say that this isn't political. And the reason why he thinks that this is not political is because he doesn't really understand politics. And with all due respect to him, neither does 99.9% of Americans. Like, politics is about different groups contending for resources and control. And the United States of America has neoliberal hegemonic ideology where people cannot even see that neoliberalism dominates both political parties. They think there's a difference between the Democrats and the Republicans, and there absolutely is not. The main difference is microscopic. It's like, should the tax rates be slightly higher or should the tax rates be slightly lower? Should you be allowed to get an abortion Or should you not be allowed to get an abortion? And it's not to say abortion rights aren't important. It's not to say it's not important. But as far as the possible panoply of government policies that we could have, there's not much of a difference. They are in a very narrow range. And unfortunately, the problems that we confront require solutions that are outside of that range. And that's why you're seeing fascism growing. Because that's a recognition that the solutions to the problems are not available inside that range. So the right-wingers and bigots are taking advantage of that. The industrial West used to sabotage third world countries by setting things like clothes and goods to prevent them from starting industrialization. In fact, what made Europe, that's right, what made Europe powerful is that they would take resources from the developing world, raw resources, and pay them nothing or almost nothing for their labor, and then they would produce finished goods and sell those finished goods to captive markets that they were taking the raw resources from. We call that mercantilism. That is how the West became powerful. And we have now created a society where we steal the resources from the developing world. We send it to China and they manufacture the goods and they give us high quality finished goods for pieces of paper that we print. We're not even giving the Chinese finished goods. We're just giving them pieces of paper that we print.
These global shifts, literally, were changing the town around me. I become an engineer. I learned how to draft and draw parts that hopefully would be manufactured sometime in America. But then when I got out of school, there were not many plants to go work at. Fast forward a lot of stuff, and then you'll get to the 2020 global pandemic. The 2020 pandemic made a lot of people mad for a lot of reasons. It made me mad. I don't get mad very often, but it did make me mad because of manufacturing capacity in America. So when everything went down, everybody wanted N95 masks and face shields, and they couldn't get it. When the president starts talking about airplane shipments from China, because that's the only place we could get these N95 masks, I realized this is a big deal. We can't make the things we need. And I'm not talking about the mask debate. Like, imagine, if we're talking about individual airplanes coming from China, do you think Alabama is on the priority list of where those things get distributed? No, we weren't. And so as a local community, we decided we're going to 3D print masks for our medical workers, the N95 masks, the face shields and stuff like that. A guy in California had developed a system to do this safely, so we did. We came together. It was a really good community moment. We 3D printed these things, but we realized very quickly this is slow and very difficult. We need to be able to manufacture things. And so I started trying to find where I could manufacture these things, and this revealed to me how anemic our manufacturing capacity in America has become, because I was waiting on some billionaire to come save us, and it didn't happen. You know what happened? I went and found a guy here locally in Alabama. His name is Chris Robeson. He knew how to make an...
Oh, he's got an AR-15 lower. Oh, hey, the one thing Americans know how to make, a fucking gun. The only thing we're allowed to make in America.
Do this safely. So we did. We came together. It was a really good community moment. We 3D printed these things, but we realized very quickly this is slow and very difficult. We need to be able to manufacture things. And so I started trying to find where I could manufacture these things. And this revealed to me how anemic our manufacturing capacity in America has become, because I was waiting on some billionaire to come save us, and it didn't happen. You know what happened? I went and found a guy here locally.
Well, I might be able to make stuff because I make guns. I make lowers for my AR-15. If you don't know, this is an AR-15 lower. Amazing. Anderson Manufacturing AR-15 strip lower receiver open 3-pack. Look at that.
In Alabama. His name is Chris Robeson. He knew how to make an injection mold, and he did. We worked together and we created an injection mold here in Alabama. This is the model number Huntsville 02 made in Alabama face shield. This is what was distributed here in Alabama to our medical workers. You put a little piece of plastic over there, and we used this in hospitals all over the state and even in adjacent states. So this whole pandemic made me realize that our like manufacturing capacity in America has been gutted. If Chris had decided to retire before I needed that mold made, we would not have been able to make an injection mold in my area, and this made me mad. I realized the knowledge chain almost broke, so I made this tweet asking about how I would find local manufacturers in order to make things in America. That's what I realized had to happen, and so I started on the journey. All right, I'm going to pause here and introduce you to the last, probably most important person of the story that you need to know about before we get going, John Youngblood. John owns a small business named JJ George that sells...
Oh, that's such a good name. Fuck. Looks like he has a 65,000 HAAS CNC mill behind him. Is that all it is? I would love to set up my own little machine shop. I would love to set up a machine shop. Would that be a profitable business? I would love to have the capacity to mill things for no reason, just to have it. You know, also, do I have any chemists in my audience? Do we have any chemists? Any PhD chemists in the audience? I also need some expert welders. Do we have any expert welders?
Grill products. There's a ton of problems with grill brushes on the market. We'll get into those later, but John had a very clever idea.
Still go for damn near the prices of brand new ones. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Check your library. They may have a CNC. Well, seeing how I'm currently in Los Angeles, so I would expect that the library might have something that cool, because it is a big city. One of the best things about a big city is there are still institutions, usually. They haven't been completely hollowed out yet.
To solve these problems with chainmail. Now, I got excited about his idea, and I wanted to get involved as an engineer and just help him in general, so we decided to work together. I tagged along as John presented his idea at a roundtable discussion of local business owners.
The problem is that every product...
I thought you were from PA? Yes. Vio and I have been bouncing around lately. We were bouncing between Pennsylvania and Vienna for a long time. So now we're in LA for the time being. It's only been a couple months. It's only been a few months, I should say. I really like Vienna. The only reason why I didn't immigrate out of the United States of America is because I'm just too involved. And my family's here. You know, like I can't give up yet. But I will. I might.
Out there that's a grill scraper is mediocre at best. Like, I know I'm buying a disposable product, maybe one a season.
John got his start by making wooden grill tables right here in the USA, but he's also worked with people overseas to make other grill accessories. John was experiencing pain because of that. Like, I don't know if you realize this, but as a small business, if you have an idea and you get it made overseas, that's cool.
I'm going to Vienna in 2 months. I highly recommend you check out the touristy cultural shit in Vienna. And I really like the Viennese Zoo at the Schönbrunn, which is the former Imperial Palace. It's really, really cool. I highly recommend you also visit like Karl Marxhof and some of the more famous social housing units. I would definitely go to the Opera House. I would definitely go to I would see the touristy shit. It's honestly cool. And there's a lot of wine. There's a lot of vineyards. So I would go get some nice tart Viennese up in the mountains.
But they have all the tooling to make the thing that you wanted made. So at night, they can literally just crank up the machine, make more of them with less high quality products, and they can just countersell against you on Amazon, and you have no recourse. There's nothing you could do. This is one of John's best-selling products on Amazon. At least it used to be, because look at all of these knockoffs. They're everywhere. The interesting thing about this is John has a patent, and he's tried to get these other things taken down off of Amazon, but he's found it almost impossible to get Amazon to respond in a timely manner. It's like playing whack-a-mole. Look at all these letters he had to get lawyers to write. That's a lot of money. The interesting thing is Amazon almost tells these manufacturers overseas what to knock off. If you go to the product page, you can see how many were sold in the last month, and all they have to do is say, oh look, that one sells 3,000 units a month. That's clearly what I want to pirate. So these product pirates go and they'll take a really good product like his grill torch and they'll just knock it off, and parts of it are exactly the same. Other parts of it are a little different because they want to make it cheaper. Like, for example, on John's unit, there is a removable screw that allows you to take the tube off in the event that a dirt dauber gets in there or something. Not on the other unit. There's nothing like that. It's glued in position. You just have to throw it away. It's weird because they're selling this for half the price, but at the same time, they're taking all the business and they're making lower quality products. Not only does this mean counterfeit goods for buyers, look at what sellers are saying in Amazon's own seller forum. Amazon's inability to police this, or at worst, unwillingness to prioritize it, that's destroying small businesses and manufacturers in America who depend on the very idea of intellectual property to protect them from fraud. So this is
Amazon doesn't care. Hey, Blinket, thank you for the tier 1. They literally do not care. In fact, Amazon should be nationalized. They literally do not care. And they take a large percentage of all the revenue. And here's the thing about intellectual property. Here's the reality of intellectual property. Intellectual property is not the free market. I want everybody to sit down. Every conservative, every liberal in here, I want you to sit down and listen to me when I say intellectual property is not the free market. It is something that we invent. It is a government granted monopoly. Now, there are arguments that granting government granted monopolies helps, you know, incentivize invention, right? Like, you invented something, you should be able to profit from it. But that's not actually what happens. Patents are just another piece of capital that could be exchanged. I could sell my patent to somebody else. Somebody else could take my patent, buy it from me, and then own the intellectual property of my idea. How does that improve? How is that incentivizing invention? The profits are going to some guy, not the inventor. And the reason why we've set this up this way is to maximize the power of the capitalist class. Like, for example, you could have patents. You could even give people the right to sell patents, but then you could have a permanent, non-revocable royalty to the patent inventor. So let's say that I invent something and somebody tricks me into selling my patent. The government could set up patents so that I always get 1% of the profit or 1% of the gross. They could set up rules to enable me to buy back my patent as the original inventor. They could do all sorts of things to protect inventors, but they don't do that. They create the patent program to protect capitalists because they don't give a shit about inventing. They give a shit about creating digital intellectual enclosures so that capitalists can charge rents. Like, for example, the patent is 20 years on a design patent in America. Why 20? Why not 5? Why not 50? Those are arbitrary. They're not, it's not some sort of like well-considered thought that we have. And so it is what it is.
This is one of the main reasons why John wanted to work with me. I wanted to work with him because I wanted to make something.
His modes are tweeting and ranting. Both include not reading chat. Huh? Oh, change the upper title. Okay, hold on. Let me. The title is Why America Can't Do Anything. And the answer is financial capitalists. It's Wall Street parasites. And it's a dysfunctional neoliberal government.
Something, and he knows the business side, but he wanted to work with me so we could use the YouTube channel to tell people about the product and not have to sell it on Amazon. So again, Amazon, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Let's get to part 2 of the video. How did we build this thing?
A design patent is 15 years. A chatter pointed out that utility patents are 20. Design patents are 15.
To understand why we have all these parts, let's think about the problem we're trying to solve.
I'm a patent lawyer and I couldn't agree more. I hate it here. I mean, listen. America's never going to fix this. America's never going to fix this because people are really lazy and they're actually incredibly stupid. And I am very willing to have any kind of debate. If you know a prominent neoliberal who wants to talk about these issues, I would love to talk about them. And the reality is they don't want to because they want to create a political environment where the choice is fascism or neoliberal centrism. If you try to create an Overton window like I am of trade unionist, social democracy, blows up that narrative, and they know that they would lose out, and therefore their positions of power, their positions of privilege, their money, their control would fall. They know it. So they work overtime to avoid having these conversations. What the fuck is this?
We have grill grates and we're trying to scrub it with chainmail, right? So in order to do that, we need the chainmail to kind of be compliant around those bars. So we want to apply downward pressure. To do that, we need something squishy behind the chainmail that when we push it down, it wraps those chainmail links around those grates. So I figured out that in order to attach the chainmail and the rubbery part to a handle, we were going to have a problem because the squishy part would break. So what we need is some type of adapter that could go between the squishy and the rigid handle, and then that way you could move the whole thing and it would all work as one. So that's how we did all this, and I learned from the pandemic that the key to making things fast is injection molding. I covered injection molding in the MVP disc golf disc video. You have two parts of a metal mold and you clamp them together so that they have a cavity in the center, the shape of the part you want. You then inject molten plastic into that void and let it solidify, and then you open the mold and you kick out the part. That's injection molding. So I started the design process, and for an engineer, you just start in CAD and you start drawing stuff. So I started making things and started figuring out how to get a rubbery backing, and I ended up with a really nice history of all the designs right here. So it's kind of fun to look at. I knew that I had to design it so that it could be molded and made and then ultimately assembled. I'm a little embarrassed showing you all this stuff. And some of the earlier designs, I had like these little posts because I had to hold the chainmail around the rubber. My thought was to hold the chainmail with these posts, but the posts started breaking off. So I was making more problems than I was solving in the early days. But pretty quickly I figured out that I was going to need multiple components. I needed something on bottom that I would adapt the squishy to. I also needed a top cover, and I needed to be able to assemble those. Now, mechanical engineers know from reading books by Toyota folks that it's better to click things together than bolt them together if you can. It makes the manufacturing process fast. So this is the early days of how I started trying to figure that out. I said, well, maybe if I have these two parts and I have a slot and I could put them together like this and I could push them and they just click together, then that would be my assembly process. And so these posts ultimately were foolish. And so I ended up with something that looked like this. So I had a rubbery component that I molded with a 3D printed mold that I made. I really enjoyed that process, but ultimately it's too complicated for making the squishy component of this. I did finalize the rigid components. I had the cover, I had the adapter, and they clicked together. After I finished kind of the design, I decided I wanted to be able to take this scrubber head off and hold it with my hand. And so I measured my fingers and I put these little grooves on there so I could hold it and really get in and scrub really hard.
And like, all right, I'd love to watch more of the design. I think we got what we wanted out of this. But the point of the video largely is reaching back to what I was saying earlier, which is my problem with abundance is that it actually sets us up for complete and utter societal collapse. And that sounds like an extreme position, but look at what neoliberalism has wrought. You know, after the 2007 2008 financial crisis, we elected neoliberal guy Barack Hussein Obama. And he came in and he did austerity, and we had the slowest recovery from a recession in American history. And after 2 terms of him as president, the Democratic Party was on its hands and knees to Donald fucking Trump. And after 4 years of that disaster and the Democrats lucking out of a huge pandemic, we got Joe Biden. Is neoliberal, like fascist fuck,
they're on the shelf,
Zionist genocidal maniac VP, and he came into office and he was an even bigger disaster and led us to what? Donald Trump having a trifecta again, except even more fascistically. It probably would have been better for the country for Donald Trump to win re-election in 2020 because he would be out of office now. And the reality is, because the Democrats are weak and pathetic, we now have a situation of utter catastrophe where the most fascistic elements of the presidency are being enlarged. We have secret police roaming the streets. We're kidnapping random people off the streets. We are denying people their First Amendment rights because of the genocide in Gaza. We have a bipartisan consensus of fascistic neoliberal scum. We cannot handle 4 years of Pete Buttigieg. I mean, that's just not something that this country will be able to survive. It will not be able to survive 4 years of Pete Buttigieg. We're going to end up with Tom Cotton as our fucking president, and that'll be the end of elections. We might not even survive the Trump administration. We need fundamental change. We need bold policies, or things are only going to intensify. And here's the reality.
We bring in Mark Leibovich.
Even the Atlantic magazine is coming out and saying, where the fuck is Obama? Even the most pathetic neoliberal centrists are starting to wonder, where is this fucking fraud?
Latest piece asks this question: where is Barack Obama? And in it, Mark, you write, in part, quote, no matter how brazen Trump becomes, the most effective communicator in the Democratic Party continues to opt for minimal communication. His audacity of hope presidency has given way to the fierce lethargy of semi-retirement. Obama's conspicuous scarcity while Trump inflicts such damage isn't just a bad look. It's a dereliction of the message that he built his career on. When Obama first ran for president in 2008, his former life as a community organizer was central to his message. His campaign was not merely for him, but for civic action itself, the idea of Americans being invested in their own change. After he left office in 2017, Obama said that he would work to inspire and develop the next cohort of leaders, which is essentially the mission of his foundation. It would seem a contradiction for him to say that he's devoting much of his post-presidency to promoting civic engagement when he himself seems so disengaged. And Mark, strong piece, and I think it's one that has really touched a nerve here among many Democrats. We've been used to former President Obama the last couple of campaigns. He sort of fancies himself the closer, right? He comes, he gives a big convention speech, and then we see him on the road just at the very end, sort of September, October. He did a little more last time around for President Biden, but there's been Democrats for a while now saying we need more of him. And especially now that Trump's in office, his absence, as you write, is really noticeable.
Yeah, I was really struck by the response to this piece, frankly. I mean, I was a little nervous just because, going after Barack Obama and challenging him on things is really going after a Democratic sacred cow. You often hear some real pushback pretty quickly. This one, very muted response as far as defense of him, and very, very animated response in terms of, yeah, where has he been? And I do think that his inaction and his disengagement here has been really conspicuous. One, because there is actual demand for him. I mean, it's not like, George W. Bush is, there's a great clamor, certainly in the Republican Party, for him. But Democrats face such a leadership vacuum right now. Barack Obama is actually a very gifted communicator still. He's not too old. He could be much more active. But he seems like he's really kind of done with this whole thing. I mean, that seems to be his posture. And I do think that this is even more conspicuous now, given what Donald Trump is doing and given the lack of pushback across the board, certainly from his own administration, certainly from his own party. But also, since there is such a real weakness of Democratic voices right now, I think a lot of people would love for him to step in and say something much bolder than he's had now, which has been.
So, by the way, chat, the reason why the Atlantic is calling for Barack Obama to come back is because they see the Democratic Party is shifting towards us. They see the grassroots energy of the party is shifting towards us. And they know that they don't have any centrists that can stand up to the left. So they're like, Barack, come back in and start yelling about how Zoran is bad. Go endorse Andrew Cuomo. And here's the truth. The average American likes Barack Obama. The average Democrat likes Barack Obama. This is a fact. And the reality is that he is probably the most important anti-leftist in the world. I'll say that again. Barack Obama is the most important anti-leftist in the entire world. He's more of an anti-leftist than Donald Trump. He's more of an anti-leftist. He is the numero uno anti-left winger in the world. So we are stuck because people have these nostalgic feelings for him. And he is very charismatic. And unfortunately, he's pretty young. So he's going to be around for decades. So we have to figure out a way of containing Barack Obama. Personally, I think going after him aggressively is the best strategy. He is a fascist fuck. He is an anti-leftist. He is a drone killer. He's a Zionist. He sucks. He ruined the country. He's a Wall Street bailouter. He's a corrupt billionaire puppet. I don't know the deporter-in-chief. I don't know the best way. Like, for me, the policies are the most persuasive. But for regular people, they're not even thinking about that. They're thinking about that way they used to feel when he was president, which I don't know if you noticed was in the past. So most people that remember Barack Obama were younger. You see, well, not most people, everybody was. So they have nostalgic feelings for when they were younger. So it's going to be very hard to defeat him. I mean, people like Bush now, for fuck's sake. But I could already tell you in 2024, he's going to be campaigning ruthlessly for Pete Buttigieg or whoever the centrist candidate is in the primary. What is our strategy for defeating him? What is our strategy for defeating him? And that is what the left needs to reckon with. I mean, calling him a fascist isn't going to work. It just happens to be true. It's not going to work. You say the Obama of 2008 would have supported it, except he'll be there saying it's bad. You think Obama will campaign during the primaries? Yes. Is the title correct? Yes, we're going to get to it.
Quite silent.
Mark, I wonder where you think he should be stepping in and what that should look like. I mean, one interesting example we've seen is obviously Senator Bernie Sanders.
His health did not do much for Kamala. She was the nominee without ever running in a primary. She was the Democratic nominee without ever winning a single primary. What do you think? What do you mean his help didn't help? Do you think Kamala Harris would ever have been a major party nominee without Barack Obama? The answer is, why do you think Joe Biden was president? It's because of Barack Obama. This is the crisis that we have. This is the crisis that we have. Is how do we close this gap between Sanders and AOC? Because she's going to be the person. It is what it is. Unless we have somebody else, it's going to be AOC. This has been my kind of, this is the reality check. She endorsed Zoran. She calls it a genocide. Who else does that?
Storming with Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's been really interesting because, of course, yes, there's a need for voices in the Democratic Party.
AOC is legitimately better than Bernie. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's true. Now, the approval rating of her doesn't reflect that reality. Why is that? The answer is she's not as famous. And she's not quite as good as Bernie is at articulating certain things. But she's better than Bernie. Like, she's already better. She endorsed Zoran. Where's Bernie? He didn't endorse shit. We need celebrity candidates like Bill Burr. It's the only way now. I'm not against that. But here's the problem. Is Bill Burr actually ideologically left-wing? We need an ideological left-winger.
And influential figures, but actually there's a need for new leadership as well. So that's something that Senator Sanders has I think led the way on in a way, which is promising for them. But I wonder what role you think former President Barack Obama should have, especially given the concerns about just being a flashpoint in the politics of the Trump era.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, that does seem to be the one defense of the Obama people, which is, you know, what's he going to do? We don't want to crowd out the next generation of leaders. The problem is there is no next generation of leaders. I mean, Democrats have not gotten around to picking one really since Barack Obama himself was elected in 2008. And I think the short answer on what should Barack Obama be doing now is, frankly, something more than he is. I mean, I think a weekend like this, where you have like literally tanks in the streets of Washington and in Los Angeles now, and you will in a few days here, would be, I think, a really important time for someone who has presidential authority, who's still relatively popular, and who still has a lot of goodwill attached to him, to actually remind in a very eloquent way Americans that this is not normal. This is not generally how it's done. It's not proper, and it's frankly dangerous, and actually in a very succinct way remind Americans that this is not the way it's supposed to be, and it's certainly not something that he would ever have gotten away with if he had done this during his presidency.
The new piece, Where is Barack Obama?, is online now for The Atlantic. Subscribe, folks. Staff writer Mark Leibovich. Mark, thank you as always.
I think the biggest crisis we've got right now is figuring out a way to counter Barack Obama. I think one of the problems that we have is that my kind of plain spokenness and honesty is not what people generally are used to hearing. Like, if I went to, for example, Majority Report, and I said that, how would that be received on Majority Report? I think they would agree with me, but their audience would complain. They would agree, but they'd be uncomfortable, and their audience would complain. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's generally how it would go. And it's like, if you cannot even get people to speak honestly about Obama, how are you going to win? Do you think Newsom has the charisma, popularity to carry the party? No shot.
Fire it up.
The all-new Dragon Flame-Grilled Whopper is here.
Fuck off.
Again, out west, where tensions are running high, and a couple
Breakfast Club, let's go! I kind of want to watch this.
That ass up.
Can we just watch this?
of narratives are playing out here at the same time.
Yeah, and a curfew is now in place in downtown Los Angeles after those clashes between protesters and law enforcement. Mayor Karen Bass ordered the curfew last night, saying it will, quote, stop bad actors who are taking advantage of the president's chaotic escalation. Mayor Bass says she expects the curfew to be in place for several days. There have been hundreds of arrests since Friday. It all comes as the Trump administration has activated 700 Marines and 4,000 members of the National Guard there in L.A. The troops have been helping federal immigration agents carry out raids across the country, a move that is expected to cost about $134 million for 60 days of operations. California has filed a lawsuit seeking to block the Trump administration from activating those troops. Federal judge is set to hear that
Literally
case.
watching you for the first time. I'm a Majority Report reviewer, and I'm not offended. I appreciate your viewpoints, candor. Oh, I think Majority Report is great. I used to work for Majority Report. I love, thank you guys. Sorry for sneezing. That came out of nowhere. I like Majority Report. I like Sam. I just think of them as, how do I put this? Because it sounds really condescending and shitty the way I say it. I'm trying to like phrase it. I think they're really nice people. I think they are really nice people in their core, and that gives them a blind spot of the Machiavellian nature of politics. I think they are gentle and kind people, and they don't have that like fifth gear of viciousness that you need. I don't think they're ruthless. And I mean that in the gentlest way possible. I don't think that that's bad to be that. I think that's actually, I wish I was like that. Unfortunately, I'm half Scottish, and Scottish people have this gear. We're just we're grumpy. We keep grudges. We're kind of pugilistic. It's just the way we are. I don't know why. It just is the way we are. Every single Scottish person I've ever met, or person of Scottish descent, is like this. I don't know why. I think it's just living up in the fucking mountains where nothing grows makes you a little bit mean. Did I say Scotch? No, I said Scottish. Scotch is what we drink. Anyway, also, I grew up in a right-wing environment. And so my transition to the left, my political journey has put me, like, I know what right-wingers think because I was raised in that fucking environment. And I know what right-wingers are scared of. And I know what beats them. I think you're underestimating the Majority Reporter. I think I've heard Emma talk about how Obama is a huge obstacle. No, they're getting better. They're getting better. They're getting better. They're getting better. Like Majority Report used to be, I used to be much more of aligned with them when Michael was there and Jamie was there. You know, like I thought they were, you know, I was more of, that's the Majority Report that I love. That's the Majority Report that I remember. You know, that was to me golden age. I think they're in the silver age, meaning I think the Majority Report is fucking great, but no one could replace Michael Brooks. You know what I mean? Like Michael was, honestly, losing Michael Brooks is one of the worst things that could have happened to the online left. And it really sucks. Michael simultaneously was a person that could bridge gaps, but also a ruthless fighter. And we don't have anybody like that. We don't have it. Like, I'm too much of a ruthless person, too much of a fighter, too much of a pugilist. I don't have that bridge built-in capability that Michael did. You know, and this is a serious deficit of my character, is that I am not somebody who is approachable and like bridge building. I try to be nice, but it doesn't work. So it is what it is. I like Emma, but I started watching Majority Report with Michael and Jamie. Yeah, I mean that I liked it because it was a little bit more confrontational and conversational within the crew. There was less consensus. There was more robust disagreement. There was more diversity of tactics and ideology. Do I think Hassan is a good bridge builder? I think Hassan is a fucking amazing bridge builder. I think Hassan is an amazing bridge builder. My only criticism about Hassan is that he's also very nice. He's a very, very nice person. I wish he was a little bit more sharp-elbowed. It's like the way he plays basketball. Like, have you guys watched him play basketball? When Hassan plays basketball, he steps like he's trying not to hurt other people. He doesn't use his size. He doesn't bully people. He doesn't collide with people. He steps gently. He's there. Oh, we're just there to have fun. And you know what? He's right. Like, it's nice of him not to hurt people in a stupid fucking, pickup game. But I don't know if you've ever played sports. There's a lot of people who will beat your fucking ass in a pickup game because of their competitive nature. They will just say, hey, I'm playing by the rules. And if you get hurt, that's part of the game. Hassan is someone who steps around people. And I wish that he was a little bit more sharp-elbowed. I wish he would come down with those fucking elbows and he would turn into people. And if they're in the way, they're in the fucking way. You would too if you were 7 foot tall. Us tall boys spend our whole lives being careful around people. And see, you're wrong though. You're wrong though. You choose to be like that, which is good. I'm glad that you do. I'm glad that you were raised that way. I'm glad that you think like that. But that's not true. Some 7 foot people are fucking mean.
It's tomorrow. Meanwhile, Governor Newsom slammed President Trump in a formal address last night, as we heard a minute ago, criticizing the president for federalizing the National Guard and deploying Marines to L.A. and accusing him of fanning the flames of the protests. Newsom also described Trump.
Did you address the Fetterman Bannon date story? Yeah, I sent a message to his wife and told her that he's a disgrace. Actually, I sent a DM to his wife, who follows me on Twitter, and said that her husband is a disgrace. And I remember when they would use her being a dreamer. Yeah, I did do that. I did do that today. I did see that story. I sent that message to his wife because I know she'll see it one day. And I just wanted her to know that we hate him and he's a scumbag. Here's a screenshot. I did it before I started the stream. Your husband is disgusting. I said that back in June 4th. Fetterman spotted with Bannon at DC MAGA Hangout. I remember when you used your status as a former dreamer, and this is your husband now. What a disgrace. Don't you have any shame? And like, honestly, I know her. I know her personally. I've known her for years. I supported her husband because I knew her and I knew she was a progressive person. And she had stood with Black Lives Matter. And in fact, this fucking scum protested with Black Lives Matter. And now he's criticizing protesting in LA. What a fucking scumbag fraud. The Viking says, I've always been a very competitive athlete. I know what you're saying. I'm just saying, I watch the way Hassan plays basketball and I see a gentle man, and that's just the way he's wired. And I'm glad he's like that. I'm glad he's nice. It's just, I wish he had a little bit more smoke for his detractors. I wish he had a little bit more viciousness. I wish he would organize fight backs a little bit more. That's my only criticism of Hassan. Like, that's my legitimate criticism. It's like, like these scumbags like Dan Saltzman, like he could be doing more to fight back against those guys. I mean, that guy is just outright defaming him, and like extreme defamation. He doesn't know his worth, but his detractors do. Not to glaze Hassan too much, but I've always said that. I've always said the problem I have with Hassan is he has too much humility. The problem I have with Hassan is he doesn't take himself seriously enough. I probably take myself too seriously. He doesn't take himself seriously enough. I hate when he says that he's just a dumb guy, because it's not true. I talk to thousands of people. He's not a dumb guy. He recognizes that he doesn't know everything. He is willing to elevate other voices. He respects other people, but that means he's smart, not dumb. And I really hate the way that scumbags like Destiny use his humility against him. It sucks. It's so painful to see that, because it's like he's showing you the way a man should, an educated, enlightened man should act like this. He should respect the counsel of others. He should respect other people. Hassan is showing you how to be a man and scumbag little boys like Destiny try to use that against him. Yeah, he's tall. Yes, he's big. Yes, he's attractive, but he's also smart. And a lot of people have this like RPG way of looking at the world where it's like, oh, Mike, you must have dumped charisma for more int. And it's like, no, some people just have high int, high charisma, high strength. Like it's not an RPG. It's not a role-playing game. Some people are just better than you in every way. Like Hassan is objectively smarter than Destiny. Hassan is objectively more educated than Destiny. Hassan is objectively better looking than Destiny. Hassan is objectively a better person than Destiny. Like on every measurable way you can measure a man, Hassan is better than Destiny. There is not one aspect of human experience that Destiny is better than Hassan in, unless you're talking about fitting into a coach seat. U.S. Embassy in Baghdad prepares for ordered departure due to heightened security risks. Oh, they're attacking Iran. Oh, they're attacking Iran. Oh my God. These Zionist maniacs, if they do this shit, I swear to fucking God. I swear to fucking God, if these Zionist maniacs get the United States of America to attack Iran, we are gotta stop them. I swear to fucking God if they attack Iran. Now, I don't know that they're definitely going to. Jesus Christ.
Trump's actions as an assault on democracy while issuing a warning.
There would be more signs. There would be more signs. Like the military needs to like move shit. I think there would be more signs if they were going to attack Iran, like seriously attack Iran. But maybe they would try some sort of dumb airstrike. Like maybe they're worried that Iran is about to assemble a nuclear weapon. If I were Iran, I would be trying to get a nuclear weapon and testing it immediately. Like if I were Iran, I would develop and test a nuclear device immediately. And that's the logic that they have created. Congratulations, you dumb fucks. Yeah, I saw this. Iran claims historic espionage coup against Israel. Is it a bluff or is it real? The Iranian government this week claimed to have scored a major intelligence coup. Yeah, until I see the evidence.
Welcome to Drop Site News.
Maybe we'll watch this video. But hold on, let's watch this Gavin Newsom shit, then maybe we'll watch some more about the protests. Because I wanna cover the protests.
Welcome to Drop.
This is the United States' third largest embassy. This will be the second once it's finished. And here's number one. Weighing in at a staggering 106 acres, the United States' embassy in Baghdad is the largest embassy in the world. It's not really comparable in size to any other embassy, but to give you a sense of scale, it's almost the exact size of Disney World's Magic Kingdom. But that's where the comparison ends. After all, the Magic Kingdom is a sprawling monument to American power, insulated from the violence and instability of its sweltering hot region by literal and metaphorical walls of money, security, and latitude to self-govern, while the Baghdad embassy compound is the same, but without Space Mountain, so fundamentally different. When the US invaded Iraq in 2003, they set up a temporary embassy in Baghdad's Republican Palace, but they immediately dreamed bigger. In October 2004, Iraq's interim government gave the Americans this sweet chunk of real estate on the banks of the Tigris River, and they got to work designing and building the beast of a thing that sits there today. It was designed by Kansas City-based architecture firm Berger Devine Yeager, coincidentally also my pub order, and built mostly by First Kuwaiti General Trading and Contracting because, due to the profound trust the United States government has in the Iraqi people, there was a rule that no Iraqis could be contracted to build the embassy, for security reasons, so the Kuwait-
my God! We are such an evil empire, bro.
Kuwaiti company brought in workers from places like Nepal and Bangladesh to do the job. The most secure part, the offices diplomats actually work in day to day, were built by 5 American contractors alongside 1 Kuwaiti one. The whole endeavor, which was originally supposed to cost $592 million, ended up costing a cool $736 million, nearly twice what it cost to build the Magic Kingdom, which again has Space Mountain. I just don't know how you spend $736 million on a place and don't give it a Space Mountain. But in fairness, they did give it a sort of unbelievable amount of other stuff. For starters, 6 apartment buildings featuring bulletproof glass windows for the thousands of people who would be living and working there, big residences for the ambassador and their deputy, 2 office buildings for working, a food court featuring—
Imagine if we were spending these money in, say, LA and building massive social and public housing units. Imagine if we were spending this money in Los Angeles, California.
I'm told, a wide variety of cuisine options, and, I'm told, a cookie bar where, I'm told, all the food is free. All the food is also, fun fact, delivered by armored cars from Kuwait, because if there's one thing Americans in Iraq are gonna do, apparently, it's get stuff from Kuwait. There's also a, quote, American club, whatever that means, a vehicle repair shop, a department store, a salon, a movie theater, and a fully equipped gym alongside an Olympic-sized swimming pool, tennis courts, and a soccer field with an irrigation system to keep it alive in the desert. And this doesn't matter, but it came up in a report I was reading and I just had to tell you. For some reason, they were stocking 3,568 toner cartridges collectively valued at about $704,000. I guess I don't know how much toner is normal for an office to have because my job is, well, this, but that's too much, right? Also, the streets have quaint American names like Broadway and Main Streets. Main Street. Remind you of anything? The embassy stands in stark contrast to
I
much—
honestly fucking hate millennial editing like this. Like, am I a lunatic? Like, is anybody entertained by these dumb quips? Am I a lunatic? Like, why the fuck is that in there? Like, why do people like this?
Of the rest of Baghdad,
It
which
must
got ranked—
work because he's doing it. Like, it's gotta work. And he's got a huge channel, right? Like 2.8 million subscribers. So this must be a decision.
second to last on an annual quality of life survey in 2023, which was actually kind of—
Vienna, Austria, the cities in the world providing high quality of living for international employees. Vienna, Austria tops the quality of living ranking for 2023. Known for its rich history, stunning architecture, and vibrant cultural scene, Vienna offers its residents a high standard of living in various aspects. Baghdad ranked at 240.
big because that same survey usually puts them dead last. They only slid up in 2023 because Khartoum was, and at the time of writing still is, an active war zone. Water shortages, poverty, violence, and I wouldn't rank this as the same level of issue, but it sure did come up a lot in research.
I don't mean to rat, but in the Discord, there is a discourse on what is a good price for a large fast food meal. Don't go to fast food. Honestly, like, I don't even recommend fast food places anymore because they're too expensive. You're literally better off finding a local spot and just going to a sit-down place or ordering takeout. Like, literally, the big chains are more expensive than like an actual place that cooks. And if you order delivery, try to get it through the local spot's delivery service, not fucking, you know, Uber Eats or whatever. Uber Eats, if you try to order Uber Eats, they'll put a $6 fee and then ask you to tip while also marking up the price of the shit. You're going to have to pay double for delivery. You guys remember free delivery? I remember free delivery. I remember when you would call the place on your phone and they would, you know, you would tell them through their broken accent, Yo, Gopnik raid. What's up? What's up, guys? Yo, Gopnik. Yo, Gopnik. Yo, Gop. By the way, chat, I need to update our sub count. This week, they're doing a major sub discount, and we have 69922. Why don't you raid Yugo? Okay, first of all, I raid Yugo all the time. In fact, I bet you I've raided Yugo more than he's raided me. What is this fucking, like, toxic girlfriend behavior where it's like you do nonstop good shit for her, she does one thing and she's like, oh, you never do anything nice for me. It's like, bitch, I do shit for you every day. Why don't I raid Yugoslavia? I would rebuild Yugoslavia. By Sealy Sport, thank you for the 5-0. I honestly want to do Yugoslavian irredentism. Hem and Fist, thank you for the 20 tier 1. Chat, we have all sorts of new viewers in the stream. If you enjoy this content, you can consider supporting it by gifting subs. We have a hype train right now. There's a ton of people here working paycheck to paycheck, parents of young children, college students, people on a fixed income because of retirement or disability, or just regular people struggling to make ends meet. And when you gift subs to this community, you are a community builder. It boosts us in the algorithm. When somebody gets gifted a sub, they're much more likely to return to that sub. You're also giving them community emotes like DSAL and DSAFP. You're giving them the ability to participate in our inside jokes. It's a community building effort. You boost us in the algorithm. You help them out. They get the opportunity to clip and see the VODs. Raid more. I am a demanding girlfriend. Okay, dude. Crispy Bacon Fox. Thank you for the 5 tier 1s. And right now, chat, I know a lot of you people are fucking bullshit job having flunkies who work 5 hours a week on IT, who's sitting there in your home office with my shit on the other monitor because you've got to make sure your mouse wiggles so you don't get detected for being unproductive. I see your fucking asses making 6 figures doing fuck all. You probably are overemployed and you've got 3 jobs because you do so little work. So if that's you, motherfucker, gift 5 subs because right now they're 35% off. Also, last but not least, when you support the stream, you are physically pissing off Ethan Klein.
Mike from PA, who is as hideous.
You are physically pissing off Ethan Klein.
Mike from PA, to me, is a full-on grifter. One day I'm going to do a video on this guy. He is the most pathetic dipshit on all of Twitch. And just to show you how easy this grift is, this guy is like relatively successful. And he is like not talented. He is vile. And he is cringe as fuck. What's his average view count?
Probably like a couple K.
Couple K?
Does he really get a couple K?
Nice. And somehow he still succeeded.
You know?
He has 7,000 members or something. Every time I see that number, I'm like, whoa. I'm happy to say that his sub count is getting lower.
Chat, you cannot allow my sub count to get any lower because Ethan and Gila Klein are literally watching my every move. So by subscribing to me, listen to this grift. By the way, we've got the full-blown grift pitch happening. You're supporting the stream and the algorithm. You're giving me money. You are psychologically harming Ethan and Gila Klein. You're making AB and Dan mad because they try to stream on their own and they get a couple hundred max. And that's with one of the largest streamers on YouTube, one of the old original streamers pushing their shit. They're fucking hacks. They can't do it on their own. That's why they work for the Zionists. So where else are you going to get this kind of value for your money? A mere 5 gifted subs. I can't imagine.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's closer to 8,000 before. I mean, every time I look, he has between 7,000 and 8,000 paying members, which is pretty disturbing, but it is what it is.
Like, I gotta be honest, I don't even notice when Ethan Klein talks about me. I legitimately don't notice. Somebody has to tell me.
Mike from PA, 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 Mike from PA,
Mike from PA,
Mike from PA, Mike from PA, Mike from PA, Mike from PA,
Mike from PA,
Mike from PA. Mike from PA to me is a full-on grifter. One day.
All right, chat. That's my grifting pitch. Thank you so much for. I'm sorry for the new raiders. I don't only grift. I had to get my sub count back above 7,000 because Ethan Klein was feeling too comfortable, right? And thank you, Ethan Klein. Thank you, Ethan Klein.
To other states.
Best grift in the game. Hats off. First of all, it's not a grift, okay?
Donald Trump, without consulting California law enforcement leaders, commandeered.
Let's get more serious, okay? Let's get more serious. Fuck Ethan Klein. Ethan Klein is a disgusting Zionist rat. He's now taking money from Dan Saltzman. And I want to remind you, why does Ethan Klein hate me so much? Why does Ethan Klein hate me so much? Is a question that people may be asking. The answer is, when I saw a clip of Destiny cheering on the shooting of civilians carrying a white flag in Gaza, I was so disgusted, I made a joke where I said, hey, if you live in Florida, I have an opportunity for you. It was inappropriate. It was against the rules of Twitch. But that was the joke I made. And that made Ethan, because I reacted like a human being to seeing Destiny cheering on the killing of a group of civilians waving white flags trying to get to their families. That was recorded by British media. And Destiny mocked them and said that they were trying to farm TikTok clips. Citizens being murdered in a war zone. And I reacted with a bad joke because I was so furious at it. It was so disgusting. Ethan Klein called me an enemy of his show and put me in the content nuke against Hassan. That's the reason. Can someone explain to me how that is not genocidal Zionist behavior? I legitimately would like someone to explain that to me. You may not like, and you know what? I got banned for 2 days on Twitch. You know, they banned me during the weekend. They wanted to make sure I didn't miss any of my streams because I don't normally stream on the weekend. So thank you, Twitch. But I was banned. I did get a punishment for making that joke. They said, bad boy, bad boy, bad boy. Don't make jokes like that. That's bad. And they slapped me on the wrist and I said, ow. But it's very weird for Ethan Klein to then declare me enemy of the show and like obsess over every detail of my life, trying to find like negative stories they can pump. Isn't that fucking weird? Can someone explain to me how Ethan Klein's just a Zionist who hates pro-Palestinian creators? Like, and he loves his Destiny? Like, I would like a Destiny or Ethan fan, which is one and the same, to explain that.
2,000 of our state's National Guard members to deploy on our streets illegally and for no reason. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. That's when the downward spiral.
You've probably dealt with less Oppo research on the campaign compared to this. I mean, the only reason they have any Oppo research against me is because I ran for office in 2014. And then the other thing is, I've been a streamer for 6 years, and they use 6-year-old clips of me with a former friend of mine when we were bantering for 5 hours on a live stream. And then they take one 10-second thing out of context and make up a story. And that's that. Like, and that's what they push. And they still to this day push this. And it's like, this is a person who, when I started talking to them, was basically a centrist. And when we stopped hanging out, they're now a open Hamas supporter. Now, I'm not saying openly support Hamas. It's just saying encountering me, you know, experiencing life with me made them unbelievably pro-Palestine. Incredible. Meanwhile, having encountered Destiny didn't really make much of an impact on their lives, right? Like, I fundamentally changed their life and their politics after, you know, a relationship with me. A relationship with Destiny is like a bad fart in the room.
He doubled down on his dangerous National Guard deployment by fanning the flames even harder. And the president, he did it on purpose.
I openly support Hamas. No, you don't. You don't support Hamas. You probably support, you're saying that to be edgy, and obviously for your own protection, I'm going to delete that and just tell you, Hamas is the conservative Islamist faction of the Palestinian resistance. The Palestinian resistance has all sorts of different factors to it. The reason why they bring up Hamas so much is because that's who the United States and Israel have supported, because they want to create an Islamist caricature of Palestinian society. If you actually understand Palestinian society, you understand that there's a secular, left-wing, pro-liberation movement as well. It's not just conservative Islamism. The United States of America pumps up conservative Islamism because it serves their interests geopolitically to prevent the rise of pan-Arab nationalism and leftism in the Middle East. Now, I'm not being like, oh man, I am a white man in America criticizing the Palestinian resistance. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to show that there's more to Palestinian resistance than the Hamas caricature alone. And that is part of the propaganda they use to foment Islamism, to foment also, paradoxically, or almost intentionally, Islamophobia. The idea that, like, Muslims are some sort of radicals and they're from the Dark Ages. That's all a creation of the US so that they could justify killing kids. And it's fucking disgusting.
Just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us. This is about you. California may be first, but it clearly will not end here. Other states are next. Democracy is next. Democracy is under assault before our eyes. This moment we have feared has arrived.
I mean, I don't like Gavin Newsom, but I agree. I know there is this kind of leftist cooler than thou, like, oh, this is just same, or this is just the same shit. It's just mask off. And it's actually not. It's an escalation. And the United States of America has done a lot of evil shit in the world, and they usually used militaries to do it. So this is American colonial practice being brought home. That's the reality. And we should be on guard. And we should be aware that this is a profound threat. The United States of America is a very flawed country, but it also has a lot of things going for it as well. It's actually tragic. If we destroy this country, if we destroy what it could have been, and we allow this to rise, it could be the end of humanity as we know it. We've never had a true fascist dictatorship with nuclear weapons that was a global superpower. And the thing about fascists is they're a death cult.
Joining us now from Los Angeles is NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal. Camila, good morning. We spoke at this time yesterday. Things had calmed a bit. What was the situation overnight, particularly with this curfew of a certain area, a relatively small area of Los Angeles, put into effect?
Hey, Willie, yeah, things calmed because that curfew is still in effect for another 3 hours.
Oh, yeah, they put a curfew on LA, by the way. If you want to understand how ridiculous this bullshit is they put a curfew on downtown LA. So that means if you were outside at 8 p.m., you were going to be arrested till 6 a.m.
So here in Los Angeles, but we did see a number of arrests after that curfew went into effect at 8 p.m. local time last night. A huge law enforcement presence, essentially getting everyone off the streets last night. And like you mentioned, Karen Bass really pointing out that LA is about 500 square miles, and you're only getting that curfew in about 1 square mile of the city. So that should give you some perspective as to how large these protests are in comparison to all of Los Angeles. There's been a large law enforcement presence, not just last night during the curfew, but really throughout the entire day and the last couple of days, largely made up of state officials and the local police department here. And they have been pushing protesters out of the way, essentially, when they go into the 101 freeway, for example. And we are getting an updated number of those arrests. They started out Saturday with just 27 arrests, then on Sunday, 40 arrests, then on Monday, 114. And then yesterday, before that curfew went into effect, they had arrested 197 people. So you're seeing those numbers increasing. We're expecting more because of that curfew, but officials saying you're not going to be able to go on the 101 highway. You're not going to be able to vandalize and create problem within the city of Los Angeles. Officials saying they're going to continue to look at tape and prosecute people, hold people accountable if they are putting that graffiti all over the streets of LA. That's one of the biggest problems that authorities want to get a handle of, and it's why, in part, why they put this curfew in place. They're also telling protesters that if you're vandalizing and looting, you're not standing up for migrants. Those were the words of Karen Bass. And then, of course, there's this political fallout and this political fight between Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom against the president, and the two leaders here in California saying that the president has escalated this, has put fuel to this fire. And they say there are two simple reasons as to why this has escalated. One being the raids and the immigration agents going into local businesses.
It's very important that people understand this, that Americans do not agree with this. I want to say this loud because I know Donald Trump won and people are like, oh, Donald Trump won, that means Americans agree. No, they do not. Americans do not agree with going to Home Depot and arresting some 40-year-old day laborer who works every day to feed his family. They do not agree, period. Anybody saying they do is a fucking liar. Now, yes, it is true that Americans agree with deporting criminals, okay? If somebody of a non-immigration crime, that is true, okay? But they do not support rounding up random grandmas. They simply do not. There is no support for this shit whatsoever. It is fucking marginal. It's fascistic. It is not supported straight up. There is no doubt. It's a fucking fact. I mean, just the other day, there was a poll proving this exact point. And this poll was not done by lefties. This was done by centrists. Deport groups of people who have lived in the U.S. for many years without committing any crimes. Do you think the following types of people who are in the United States illegally should or should not be deported? People who have lived in the U.S. without committing crimes should not be deported. 61%. Only 24% support deporting these people, which is the hardcore fascist right wing. It's only half of Republicans. Only 45% of self-identified conservatives support it. Only 44% of self-identified Republicans support it. People do not. Only 46% of Trump supporters support it. They can't even get a bare majority of Trump supporters. This is simply unsupported by the American people. There's a lot of problems with Americans. They do not support this at all. At all. And you can say it loud and you can say it proud because that's the fucking truth.
going into schools, for example. The governor is saying there were unmarked vehicles at a school and saying that children are afraid to go to their own graduation. And then the other aspect is, of course, the National Guard, the Marines, people on the ground here not wanting to see that, and that creating escalations and tensions here in Los Angeles. But I do want to point out that the
50% of Americans support unmarked mass men abducting children from... No, they don't! That's my point! 61% should not be deported! No, they do not! I know you were trying to be an edgy leftist or whatever, but let's get fucking real. They absolutely do not. You have the fascist fringe, which in this country is 25% of people in this country are racist fascists. That's true. But 75% are not. They do not support this shit. They don't.
Ended very peacefully. There was a vigil taking place with interfaith leaders and a lot of people just wanting this to be about the migrants, this to be about the central issue and not about the violence and what you're seeing when things escalate between protesters and police officers.
Wait, DHS took his global entry away? I thought I was the only one.
Camila, depending on where you get your information, you're getting two very different stories of what's happening in the streets of Los Angeles right now. Yeah. Mayor Bass, Governor Newsom saying they're mostly peaceful. There are some bad actors who,
I don't have global entry, Chad. I don't have it.
Are committing violence and damage, and they should be arrested and prosecuted. Everyone agrees on that, I think. But then if you watch other channels, it's chaos in the streets. And if you listen to the President of the United States, it's chaos on the streets. Him seizing on a couple of clips played on a loop that he's been talking about. So you're there, you're covering these protests. You've got sources on the ground. What is the truth? What do these protests actually look like?
Yeah, there is some aspect of chaos, but it's relatively small in comparison to Los Angeles and in comparison to the protesters. You're seeing so many members of law enforcement almost in comparison to these protesters. So once these ones that want to escalate things and want to create trouble start doing so, that's when you, of course, have the cameras ready and present and capture a lot of these images that essentially get blown up and there's this narrative of LA is on fire, and it's not. That is not the case. It's a very small area. Things were getting a lot more calm and a lot more peaceful yesterday. But what Mayor Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom are saying is, yes, things are getting more peaceful, but then you start talking again about the National Guard and the Marines, and then people get angry and upset. But again, usually it is a smaller group of people in comparison to the people that are protesting peacefully and that want to get their message across. Willie.
NBC's Camila Bernal reporting for us from Los Angeles again this morning. Camila, thanks so much.
Yeah, we talked about that, young roll. We talked about that already. I wanted to show you guys some more of the protest coverage. Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson calls Trump authoritarian.
I'm here for the people that can't be here, the people that are getting their families ripped apart and taken from them, for the way that Trump is going about this whole immigration thing and using it as propaganda for his base. That's why I'm here. And I want my kids to be here because I want them to know that if we have to stand up for the people that can't stand up for themselves. And if we don't stand up, then nobody will. And when it's our turn and our rights are being stripped away from us, then there's not going to be anybody left to stand up for us. It makes me really sad, and I just hope that the National Guard and the police just feel an ounce of discomfort that every immigrant here feels. It doesn't feel scary, it just feels, it's almost exciting knowing that so many people are out here, you know, defending other people's rights.
Protests against the Trump administration immigration policies have spread from Los Angeles to other U.S. cities in recent days, with dozens of arrests Tuesday. President Donald Trump's decision to deploy Marines and National Guard troops to Los Angeles, where protests started Friday, has drawn sharp Democrat criticism from state and local Democrats. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson called Trump an authoritarian and a tyrant in the White House who has complete disregard for our Constitution. Levitt broadly depicts LA protesters as violent criminals. They have one picture of a Waymo. That's it. That's literally the only thing they have. Fact-checking Trump, guys. We're fact-checking Trump.
I love this town.
Okay, Vanguard. Thank you. Do you think he's trying to pull a Gorman-style escalation? Okay. Listen, I love Andor, but you... We should probably use like more historical examples.
National Guard troops and even the Marines are on the streets of Los Angeles, deployed by President Donald Trump after mass protests against his immigration raids. California's governor is suing him while protests spread elsewhere. Could this crisis worsen? This is Inside Story.
It's like Egypt, or a better it could be even like the Reichstag fire is the classical example people use of taking some small event and blowing it up for the purpose of repressing dissent.
Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Fuli Batibo. U.S. President Donald Trump has made immigration a huge part of his domestic agenda. His federal agents have stepped up their raids on homes, workplaces, schools, and other areas in recent weeks. But what's happened in California in the last few days seems to have brought the crackdown to a new level. Trump has deployed National Guard troops and U.S. Marines, despite the objections of the state governor. In response, California has launched a lawsuit. Meanwhile, the protests are spreading to other cities. Supporters of the president have welcomed the raids, saying they're long overdue, while opponents accuse Trump of authoritarian tactics and creating chaos. So how significant are these events in California? And does Trump's use of the military against civilians pose a challenge to the state's authority? And how is the U.S. public seeing all of this? We'll get to our guests shortly. First, this report from Ama Boateng.
Detentions, protests, and a crackdown. Parts of Los Angeles in California have seen several nights of unrest as President Trump pursues his deportation plans against undocumented migrants. The protests began on Friday after federal immigration officials carried out raids across the city, including workplaces. And the Trump administration's decision to deploy both the National Guard and Marines without the approval of state officials has outraged many. President Trump has defended the decision.
If I didn't get involved, if we didn't bring the Guard in, and we would bring more in if we needed it, because we have to make sure there's going to be law and order. You had a disaster happening. I wouldn't call it quite an insurrection, but it could have led to an insurrection. I mean, that was a lot of harm that was going on last night. I watched it very closely, and it was amazing that the job that the National Guard did. And by the way, the police were working very hard also.
California is suing the federal government, arguing the deployment of National Guard troops is illegal and a violation of the state's sovereignty. The governor, Gavin Newsom, has called it reckless, and the mayor of Los Angeles blames the Trump administration for the escalation in violence.
I am hopeful that the federal government will hear our plea, stop the raids. This is creating fear and chaos in our city. It makes me feel like our city is actually a test case for what happens when the federal government moves in and takes the authority away from the state or away from local government.
We don't want them.
President Trump has said he's aiming to detain 3,000 undocumented migrants a day as part of his campaign pledge to deport up to 1 million undocumented people within a year. Los Angeles is the second largest.
This is the bad place. We're in hell. We're in hell. This has got to be AI, right? This is AI. Someone tell me this is AI. Tell me this is AI. At least he's not a Cubs fan. At least he's not a Cubs fan, right? Like, I can handle him being a Sox fan, I guess. But now the Sox have to win every year or else Catholicism is wrong, right? Like, or do you think he thinks like, okay, I can't pray for the Sox to win because that's unfair? Like, do you think he thinks that? Like, do you think he goes like, I want the Cubs to win, but I won't use my powers to make them win? He's like, it would be too selfish of me to pray for the Sox to win.
Really bad traffic make Baghdad a challenging place to live. The State Department, for their part, wanted to make sure American diplomats didn't deal with these problems.
Do you really think a single dude in the Vatican believes in God? I mean, I think that's a really good question. And if you know anything about the Vatican, you know that the hyper elite of the Catholic Church are incredibly intelligent people, objectively. We're talking about people that speak 8 languages, they have PhDs, they are incredibly talented politicians, Like, you do not become a cardinal, you do not become an archbishop unless you are an extremely talented and intelligent person. This is usually the truth. Doesn't mean, and most of them are evil. I mean, like, that's obviously true as well. Do they actually believe in God? I think some of them do. I mean, in a large enough organization, some of them do. But I think that if you looked at the demographics of who they are, the answer to that would be, if they believe in God, they're more of an adherent to Jesus's philosophic teachings, right? Like, they look at religion as like a platonic noble lie. You know what I mean? Or is that, yeah, you know what I mean? Like the idea of, in order to get human beings to be pro-social, we need to all believe in this thing we all know to be not true. Like, they probably think of like, hey, we should use the trappings of tradition and superstition for the service of these greater moral truths. If they're not just purely evil, I have a hard time believing that they believe that the Christian God exists.
Tax government to control their access to resources, so they went ahead and made sure.
The Catholic Church is vehemently anti-socialist. As an overall institution, that is absolutely the correct. However, there are elements of the church that are actually socialist Catholics. They do actually exist, even in the church hierarchy. And Pope Francis was at least a sympathizer toward those people, if not a socialist himself. It doesn't mean, and when I say that, it's not to defend the Catholic Church or say it's good. It's just to say that in an institution that is as big as the Catholic Church and is in as many cultures and nations as the Catholic Church, there is a wide diversity of belief in the Catholic Church. There are liberation theologists all the way to hardcore monarchist fascists. Like, that's the reality. That's the reality of the Catholic Church, because it is what it is.
Their city within a city was self-sustaining and fortified against the rest of Baghdad. Naturally, not everyone in Baghdad finds this super cool and awesome, but if there's one thing the United States doesn't super worry about, it's what the people of Baghdad would find super cool and awesome. What do we worry about? Keeping that soccer field green, baby. As I said, there's irrigation for the soccer field, and actually, the embassy compound's whole water system.
Wait, I didn't mean to watch this dumb shit again. I'm sorry, I just randomly clicked it and was like, oh, let's go back to the video. It's like, this is the video you're watching. I thought I closed that. Sorry, chat. I just had a moment. I was reflecting on the chat.
Largest city in the US and has the largest Latino population. Anger has spread beyond Los Angeles, with protests in other states, including New York and Texas. Many migrants say they fear being targeted by the authorities and are worried about what the future holds for them and their families. Amma Boateng, Al Jazeera, for Inside Story.
Let's bring in our guests now. They're all joining us from the United States. In Los Angeles is Peter Eliasberg, who's chief counsel at the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California. In Philadelphia, Claire Finkelstein, a professor of law at the University of Pennsylvania. And in Washington, D.C., Mark Freifly, a Republican strategist, founder and president of Off the Record Strategies. A warm welcome to you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Peter, let me start with you in Los Angeles. Can you give us a sense of the mood on the ground? What are people saying? Are they afraid? Are they defiant or indifferent to the military buildup?
Well, I think there's both fear and defiance, and they're very angry because what the president has done is unprecedented. This is the first time in 65 years the president has set a National Guard over the objection of the governor and local officials. And what we're seeing, which is so troubling, is he claims to want to restore law and order, but this is a man who didn't want to send out the National Guard on January 6th. So it's a little hard to take that claim seriously. But the other thing is what we're seeing is many video reports, and I've done interviews with people where the greatest force and violence is being actually meted out by federal officers, people shooting tear gas canisters at people's heads and things like that. So this is not an effort to restore law and order. This is an effort to further his political agenda, and there is a lot of anger about it.
Yeah, Peter, Christine Noem, the Homeland Secretary, has said that the demonstrations in Los Angeles were being paid, the demonstrators rather, were being paid, and that the protests are, in her words, an operation professionally done. What do you respond to that?
It's preposterous. I've been a First Amendment lawyer for 30 years. I work with protesters all the time. The government continually trots out this claim. Where is the money coming from? Who's getting paid? It's absurd on its face, the claims that the government makes about paid protesters.
All right, Mark, let me come to you in Washington, D.C. President Trump promised to restore law and order and crack down on illegal immigration. Would you say that what we're seeing in Los Angeles now is him delivering on that promise, or has he gone too far?
I think what Mr. Trump does is an almost unprecedented campaign of taking a machete to where a scalpel is appropriate to this challenge, and avoiding any type of a bipartisan compromise, as pretty much every president and many people on both political parties have done since my service in government during the Bush administration. We wanted a deal as well. At the end of George Bush's administration, of course, it was not.
Honestly, chat, I don't know. The reality of American domestic immigration policy is that the reason we have the immigration system we have is because it offers an opportunity to have an exploitable underclass. So it increases the profits of the capitalists. So the capitalists don't want it to be fixed. The capitalists do not want it to be fixed. So they like the fact that people come here illegally. And then everybody across the political spectrum, except for the racists, they recognize that having a population of people coming into the country actually makes America more powerful, because we have a constant new source of adults coming into this country. And it is when people are children that they're the most expensive. But if you move to this country when you're 25, you've already gone through the period of growing up. And if you have any skills at all, we're basically getting a free taxpayer that we didn't have to pay to develop. It makes America stronger. And then if you have children here, well, we solve the problem of like generational underclass because we have birthright citizenship. The issue kind of solves itself. So individual laborers may be like an underclass, but their children kind of self-assimilate because of birthright citizenship. So it's constantly resolving itself. You also have this continual flow of new exploitable labor. So the capitalists like it and the liberals tolerate it because it resolves itself. And so we've had this dysfunctional system because it's a good compromise. You know, like the left and the social democratic left, they hate it. They want to formalize immigration because that means that this underclass will be able to be organized, and it'll help the domestic worker and laborer, the proletarian, to get a higher share of profit. Because if they're here working legally, then they could do stuff like get rights, join unions, you know, fight for better wages, fight for a higher share of the pie. That is why we have this situation where the progressives want to resolve this and develop a system that is actually functional, but the status quo liberals and capitalists want it to remain the same. Now, on the far right, they're racists and fascists. And so they have these wild racial theories about whiteness that are completely incoherent, but they're pursuing those theories. Now, for me, I don't know about you, but a person who's Roman Catholic and speaks Spanish and grew up in Mexico has a culture that is in many ways substantively compatible with the US. That's fucking nonsense. This is not some sort of unassimilatable immigrant who has completely different values than us. They have the same fucking values. Maybe they speak a slightly different language. Maybe they like tacos instead of burgor. But Mexicans love burgor too. So what the fuck are we even talking about? Oh, they have a slightly higher percentage of indigenous blood than the average white American. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh my God, they're more likely to have dark hair and eyes. Oh God. Oh man, their skin tone is more olive and less pink. Holy shit, this country's destroyed. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's nonsense. So I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a Bush guy who was against this.
Approved. Group of 8 came in 2013, an attempt to bring a bipartisan compromise. That was shot down then, mostly by Republicans. In my time in office, it was Democrats. And then we have Biden's last year in office, in which he was unpopular. We're in the middle of a presidential campaign. And then the Democrats decided, you know what? We need to come up with a compromise solution. They brought in a really respected and hardworking Republican senator by the name of Langsford from Oklahoma. And that was a failure as well. Who's winning in this process is the cartels. They are becoming rich. They are
Wow, I can't believe the cartels are making money. I wonder if those cartels have any links to American intelligence agencies. Wow, I can't believe the American intelligence agencies are so against banking transparency laws. We could easily shut down the cartels instantly if we had banking transparency. And every time these banks get caught laundering money, they get a slap on the fucking wrist. They get a slap on the fucking wrist. And the United States, let's be honest, the CIA and U.S. intelligence has been supportive of the international drug trade since the very beginning. We've talked about this before, but the Golden Triangle and heroin and the opium trade used to be British, but then it was handed over to America. And we used it to fund the KMT in their war against the Communist Party of China. Organized drugs, the drug cartels, and that money produced by it was used to fund anti-communism around the world in Latin America and Asia. This is a fucking fact.
Keeping in billions of dollars off of the inaction and the inability of America's political leaders to come together for a compromise.
Let me ask.
Trump pardons drug kingpins? He pardoned Larry Hoover? Hoover's gang was one of the largest and most violent drug syndicates in the U.S. He was convicted of murder? Larry Hoover was the head of perhaps the most pernicious and vicious drug operation in the U.S. They sold 100 million drugs a year in the city of Chicago alone. They were responsible for countless murders. What the fuck? The release of Larry Hoover was championed by Yee. Amazing.
Ask you this. You say this chaos, Mark, is a result of years of bipartisan failure on immigration. But does the military-style response by the Trump administration
Larry Hoover was set up by the FBI because the folk nation was providing free food and low-interest loans to the neighborhood? I mean, this is usually how organized crime exists. Organized crime oftentimes exists in spaces where government has failed. Like, the reason why the Italian mafia grew was because Sicily was ungoverned. And so basically, the organized crime syndicates grew, form protection rackets, and basically provide government services. Like, it's usually how they work. The cartels are basically ad hoc governments of criminal activity to ensure maximization of profit. Like, that's it. Like, the mafia takes, money from crime and organizes it to maximize profits of the criminals.
Really help fix that? I mean, don't you think it's a bridge too far to send in the Marines?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's bringing in a machete for when what you need is a surgical operation to take the bad elements of the immigration, the illegal immigrants who are creating the human trafficking, who are running fentanyl and other drugs into this country, and who are creating serious crimes and difficulties for our society. Those are the people that need to be removed. And if the challenge is that when these cities become sanctuary cities in many cases, and I believe that every community has a right to operate in the way that it sees fit. But when they are a sanctuary city, that means that ICE agents and other federal authorities have to go into the communities directly without the help and support of local law enforcement. And that means that they round up pretty much whoever they find who is an illegal alien because they do not have an active visa or other legal papers, and they deport them. And that's where the struggle is in these communities. If they worked hand in hand with law enforcement, they would have the ability to then go in and work with them to take the bad elements of that part out and remove them. But we don't have that because of that ineffective leadership across our political spectrum.
All right, Claire, let me bring you into the conversation and ask you about the legality of bringing in the Marines and also the National Guard. Is the president's use of federal military assets in the domestic context, particularly without the governor's consent in California, is that legally on shaky grounds? I mean, or does the existing precedent give him wide leeway to do this?
Well, as you know, there's been a lawsuit by the state of California to challenge this particular takeover of their National Guard. And the curious thing is the way that the federal government did it in this case, because they used a rarely used statute, which is 10 U.S.C. 12406. There's only been one other time in our history that the federal government has decided to federalize troops using that statute. So that's the first problem with this action. And California is alleging that that statute does not authorize this particular takeover because there needs to be a rebellion on the ground in California in order for the president to have the right to federalize troops in this case. And arguably what's gone on in California to now does not meet that standard. The second problem with the particular use of 12406 is that the troops were supposed to be run through the governor. According to that statute, it was supposed to be done and the troops dispatched in coordination with the governor, and that didn't happen in this case. And even the president's own order, executive order through which the initial troops were dispatched, made reference to coordination with the governor, and that didn't happen. So California is alleging that it's an illegal dispatch in this particular case.
So how would you say that California's case is strong then? I mean, and what precedent might it set for the balance of power between states and the federal government?
I think California does have a pretty good case. The only precedent is during the Nixon era, when Nixon used 12406 to dispatch the mail to call in to federalize National Guard in order to make sure that the mail was being delivered during a postal strike. So it's a little curious that the federal government decided to proceed this way, because the usual way might have been the Insurrection Act. And ironically, Trump would have been on stronger ground probably had he invoked the Insurrection Act. And of course, it's important to mention that under 12406, there was no exception to what's called the Posse Comitatus Act, under which troops are not allowed to serve as law enforcement agents.
Right.
And so they're very hamstring in what they can do under the current deployment.
Peter, what's your legal assessment of Governor Newsom's lawsuit? Could it realistically prevent federal troop deployments in the future, or is this merely symbolic right now?
Well, there's not a lot of precedent interpreting these statutes, but I do think the governor's got a strong legal position. But I think more importantly, we really have to ask ourselves, why is this happening? And there is no reason for it. The governor has made very clear, and it's clear on the ground, yes, there is some unrest. There are some people breaking laws. The Los Angeles Police Department has said, however, most people are protesting peacefully. The idea that this is an insurrection is laughable. We have seen unrest in cities across the country. Local law enforcement has training to handle that. That's not what military troops do. And the idea that the Marines, whose job is to kill people, are being brought in to address this situation is a very frightening possibility. And I worry that really what's happening here is that the federal government is taking steps that will make this far worse, not better. The idea of President Trump restoring law and order is, as I said, laughable. This is a man who thought January 6th was a day of love. This is an effort on him to further his political agenda, not restore order, which local law enforcement has more than the capacity to handle.
Mark, what do you respond to that? Peter asks a very important question. Why is this happening now? I mean, President Trump has long talked about using military force on domestic soil to crush protests or riots. He didn't do it in his first term. Why is he doing it now? What's different?
So the administration right now is using the National Guard and the 700 Marines as political props. As I think, as the other two guests rightly said, there's very little they can do. They're essentially doing traffic or maybe some other tasks that are non-law enforcement type activities. Mr. Trump is going into...
Donald Trump's popularity is absolutely crashing. Donald Trump's popularity is absolutely falling off a cliff, and you have the left to thank. Majority of voters oppose GOP budget bill with just 67% of Republicans in support. Job approval, 38%. His handling of Russia-Ukraine war, lowest among list of issues. He's a total failure. Democrats, 89-2 oppose the bill. Only 67% of Republicans support it. 57-20 independents opposition. Among Republicans, 21% think federal funding for Medicaid should increase. 56%. Why are Democrats running across the fucking streets screaming at the top of their lungs? Increase Medicare. These fucking losers. Only 11% of independents support a cut. What the fuck are you doing? 54% disapprove. We're winning, you worthless sacks of shit. God, I hate the Democrats. The Democrats are so fucking worthless. Holy shit. Thank God for the left. Holy shit. 35% of approves of Israel, his handling of Israel. 34% Russia, Ukraine. 38% approve of trade. 40% economy. 40% deportations. 43% immigration. He's losing everything. 30% of voters have a favorable opinion of Musk. 57 disapprove. Pathetic. 21% of voters approve of the way Democrats are doing their job. Unbelievable. 7 out of 10 voters, 74%, think international students coming to the United States to study at colleges and universities is a good thing for the United States, while 17% think it's bad. You fucking loser, Democrats! Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Israel-Hamas war. 37% say the Israelis, 32% Palestinians, 31% did not offer opinion. Nobody likes Israel. Israel is not an issue that will hurt you. You can be anti-Israel. You fucking losers. Only 12% of Democrats support the Israelis. Holy fucking shit. This is an all-time high for support. This is incredible. I'm trying to fix this preview. Why is this crop so fucked? Do I need to make it more boxy? I think I need to make it more boxy. Hold on. I'm like actually malding. The reason why I'm malding so much is when we're so fucking right, and the evidence is staring us right in the face, and people still try to like debate it. These fucking liars, man. Okay, I'm gonna do it the other way around. 60%, oh, I'm sorry, 60% of Democrats support Palestinians over Israel. Only 12% support Israel. Oh my God. Like, what can you even say? What can you say? I mean, like, what, these genocidal Zionists are all over the fucking leadership. How can we support this party? It's fucking worthless. It's so worthless. It's actually, I'm actually losing it. I'm losing it. I'm fucking losing it. They're gonna attack Iran for Israel. All right, chat.
You might have heard recently that bad.
I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. I'm speechless. But we're gonna have fun with a bad empanada video real quick.
Bad empanada DMCA'd Nicholas Diorio. Oh yeah. You might have heard recently that bad empanada DMCA'd Nicholas Diorio. Oh yeah, I did. I mean, I'll do it again to anyone who does the same thing. So Nicholas Diorio reposted a succession of clips to his X account, his monetized X account. I'm going to explain that more in depth in a second as to why you should try to get people deplatformed on Twitter, because Twitter is a hellish platform, and it's all based around content theft, monetized content theft.
XEIAA, thank you for the 5 tier 1s.
But like, he just ripped clips from the video that I made on him and reposted them to Twitter with like 2 lines of commentary, basically. That's obviously not transformative enough to constitute fair use. You can't just rip clips from someone else's video and then post them on Twitter and then expect to be protected from DMCA claims, because it's the very fucking definition of what is not fair use, of actual copyright infringement. I don't know how people twisted the idea that like you should be able to react to and criticize other people's content to this thing, to as if that means you should just be able to repost it practically without comment and profit from it as well. No, obviously you shouldn't be able to do that. Where did you get that idea? So let's look into this for a second here. If Diorio posted here complaining, bad empanada, filed a DMCA on my Twitter because I laughed at his video he made on me. No, I filed a DMCA on you because you just reposted clips from my video and you added nothing to them. So here's an example of what this looked like before I copyright claimed the clip. You can see here, it's literally just him. He posted the video clip. He didn't even say a word. He just posted the clip, and on there he got tens of thousands of impressions from which he made money because he has a monetized account. He literally just took my content, posted it without even a comment. Not that one comment would have made it okay. It's doubtful that you can even include enough comment in the length of a tweet to make it fair use to post someone else's video. But he didn't even try. He said nothing. So yeah, you got fucking copyright. You said nothing. You said fucking nothing. You just reposted my content. You didn't even say anything. I would fucking hope that you would DMCA people if they just take like a part of your video and upload it and say nothing, you'll be totally within your right to do that. What, do you endorse me just like taking your videos and re-uploading them? That can happen if you think it's okay. The funniest part of this though is that he then says, I thought Ethan Klein was unhinged for striking clips. No. First thing, for one, you make money off this. This comes from the X monetization program. There's tons of these slop accounts on X because now Twitter incentivizes you to be unoriginal and to steal. If you see someone else post a viral tweet and you have a verified account, you should not retweet. You take their viral tweet and you repost it on your own account so you have the chance of going viral yourself and making money off it. If you see someone else post a video, you steal their video and you repost it on your own account because that way you make money off it. It's literal theft. The entire platform is based around theft, posting idiotic slop. Say whatever you want and make money off it. So yeah, fuck yeah, I copyright claimed you. You were making money off that. That's one thing. Ethan Klein was copyright striking people posting stuff on Reddit, not to make money off it. You have a verified account from which you monetize your posts, and you made money off those posts from which you posted my content without any fucking transformative comment at all. So yes, DMCA, eat it. But two, I don't think the reason why people said Ethan Klein was unhinged, why hasn't banned him, not have been banned by you.
I've seen pro BE comments everywhere on the internet right now. A tweet saying he could never make me hate this man has 12,000 likes. He's grown so much this year. Yes. And the reason why, and I'm going to give you this is not the only reason, but it's a major reason, is Hassan endorsed him. Hassan endorsed him. And he's now seen as an acceptable content creator to support. That's why. Now, it doesn't mean that that's the only reason, but it is a substantively large reason. So now people stop. The only people that would talk when you said something about Bad and Panada, it used to be Vouch viewers who would go, he's so unhinged, she's so unhinged, he's a doxer, he's a pedophile. That was what would happen. Is the only people that were motivated to shit talk him were Vouch viewers. And most other people didn't know who he was. And so I have been in the trenches. I've been in the trenches defending him for years. Now, it doesn't matter. Now that other people have said he's actually pretty good at this, and they have promoted him more and boosted him more because of his fight against Ethan, let's be honest. Now people could just be like, I like him. And now you don't just have Vosh viewers going, he's unhinged, he's unhinged.
YouTube. Yeah, it'd be banned for fucking correctly.
The most important thing as a creator is for people to give you ethos. As I said this before, if you have talent, that's not enough if people are not willing to listen to you. If people say this guy's worth listening to and you have talent, you will succeed. But if people don't think you're worth listening to, you won't succeed. That's just how it works. Is you need to have those peer validators.
Copyright striking you. The reason why people said that Ethan Klein was so-called unhinged, I don't think I said that, maybe other people said it, is because he didn't just strike clips. He literally sent a legal threat to someone who he copyright claimed, saying that if they do not give him a ton of personal information about the moderators of H3 Snark, that he would sue them. So Ethan Klein sent this legal letter to a Reddit user saying give us all the dirt you have on the moderators of the H3 Snark subreddit because you posted a copyrighted video of ours and we're going to sue the pants off you unless you do this. That's what people were calling Ethan Klein out on. Now, as far as I'm aware, I didn't send you a legal letter like this. Or did I? I don't know. Let us know, because there's clearly no equivalence here between these two things. If all that Ethan Klein was doing was copyright claiming people who post, someone who's making money off just reposting his content, no one would be criticizing him for that at all. And that's what I did to you. You reposted my content without making it transformative, without making it even remotely fair use. So yeah, you got copyright claimed. Eat it. I'm glad to do it. I'll do it to anyone else who just steals my shit on Twitter as well and tries to make money off it, especially if you make money off it. If you want to watch my content, you need to at least commentate on it, criticize it, add something to it. You can't just fucking repost it. Everyone should have this same exact mantra. Don't just repost shit. Make money off reposting it and then act like a fucking small bean. Like they're calling this a false copyright claim. This is the least false copyright claim in all of human history. This is...
I mean, Bad Panada's right. And not only that, not only is he right, we should copyright strike more of these slop fuckers. Like, if they're not actually arguing, if you watch a video of mine and you do not counter my arguments and you just use it to insult me, I am within my rights to completely fucking DMCA your ass, because that's not transformative and it's not critical. It's just insults. Fuck you. If you deal with my arguments and you counter my arguments from your perspective, I'm totally fine with that.
It's literally what copyright claims are for. You can't just repost shit without adding anything to it. Period. That's how it works. Get over it. But I wanted to make a broader point here about these monetized Twitter accounts like Nicholas Diorio's. You should do everything you can to fuck these people over. You should report them, because ultimately all that they do is post total idiotic slop. They repost, they steal video clips. It's precisely what I just said a minute or two ago. All they do is steal, and they make money off it. Twitter is a platform that encourages the most brazen theft for personal gain, for profit, for monetary profit, because of the monetization system. It is a fucking horrible platform because of that. Like Drew Pavlou, for example, is a great example of someone who would be like living on the street in abject poverty without his Twitter account. He just posts like the dumbest slop imaginable. Most of it gets like 20 likes, but occasionally gets one that gets like 10,000 likes, and he literally makes enough money off that he's not in the position in society where he deserves to be because of Twitter monetization slop. X's like model under Elon Musk with the monetization actively encourages the most disgusting content theft slop. It just actively encourages you to post the dumbest outrage bait imaginable to make money. That's why you see so many verified Twitter accounts, like paid verified Twitter accounts that just do that sort of thing. And I'm not just going to let these people just repost my shit in an environment where it's debatable as to whether or not you can actually commentate enough in like a tweet on what you're posting to actually have it constitute fair use. But he certainly didn't even try. He just like said nothing and reposted a clip. So yeah, I copyright claim that, and I'll do it again if other people do the same thing. It's literally what it's all about. It's what copyright law is specifically for. It's what DMCA takedowns are specifically for. Deal with it, little fucking pansy. And like the conflation of this with what Ethan Klein does is a fucking joke as well. It's not even remotely the same thing, obviously. What Ethan Klein did is literally send someone a legal letter saying like, tell us everything on these people, dox them, or we're going to take you to court for copyright. I'm not taking you to court. I'm just sending a DMCA fucking takedown request to get my content, which you were illegally using, removed. So you can no longer illegitimately make money off just reposting my stuff without adding anything to it yourself, without making it remotely fair use. So yes, I did that, and I'll do it again. If you want to respond to my stuff, you have to at least respond to it. You can't just fucking repost it with like a one-liner or a zero-liner as you did in that first one. So deal with it. I've been consistent on this for years. Like I posted a community post literally years ago when like the Hassan React drama stuff was going on. I posted this and I said, it's not okay to use my work if it's just like a straight re-upload or you're barely even reacting or transforming it in any way. And what he did was a combination of straight re-uploads and just like random nonsensical idiot.
One thing I would say to him about DMCA is, if I DMCA you, I fully intend to sue you. If I DMCA, like I disagree with Bad and Banana. If I DMCA you, I fully intend to sue you. If you try to dispute it, I fully intend to file a lawsuit and go after maximum copyright stipulated damages, which I think are $150,000 per breach. If I DMCA you, I intend to fucking sue you. And the only reason you're not being sued is because the content was taken down in a safe harbor period.
Idiotic one-liners that do not at all constitute acceptable use of my work. I mean, I've threatened the fucking Snark subreddit when they took one of my members-only videos and just reposted it. Like they just do, they have on multiple occasions done full re-uploads of my content. I would copyright strike that if they didn't remove it when I told them to. Absolutely. This is not something that I discriminate on. Anyone who just does that sort of thing to my content, yeah, you will get copyright struck. I will do that because it's literally not fair use. If you want to use my content, you can't just fucking re-upload it. You can't just take a 1 minute long clip of mine and re-upload it with a little dumb one-liner added to it. You have to actually add something to it yourself, criticize it, or commentate on it or something for at least as long as I talk in it or something like that. So if you don't like it, just fucking deal with it. And people like this, like Nicholas Diorio, they feel especially threatened by this because they do not make original content. They have not once in their life made an original piece of content that did not depend on them like reacting to someone else or something like that.
By the way, chat.
Yeah, leeches. Because all they do is take...
Unfortunately, I can't bring Bad and Panada on my stream. However, I could go on his stream or he could come on my podcast.
From others. Without the original work of others, they would not make a single dime off anything. And I'm glad to do my part to inconvenience those people and to make sure that...
People have been like, Mike, what's taking so long with your camera stuff? Let's just say that I became more ambitious.
He lost a couple of dollars from me copyright claiming him stealing my content.
Could you react to your podcast the next day? Ooh. That's a gray area. That's a gray area.
Reposting on Twitter. I hope others follow my lead and do the same. On Twitter, particularly, report these fucking slop repost accounts endlessly. Any verified Twitter account that does that sort of thing is fair game to be reported. You're doing the world a favor by getting rid of them, by stopping them from being able to just make money off theft. I salute everyone who does so. Whether it's a copyright claim against a Twitter account, report, or like a community note, all of those are sufficient to remove any money that they made from the post in question. So do it. They deserve it 100%. Now give me all your money. If you don't give me your money, you're going to be in big trouble, mister.
All right, chat, can I talk about liberals? Like, this shit is absolutely fucking batshit crazy, and I don't know how to react to it, but let me just show you this. Rules for protests now, and especially on June 14th at the No Kings rallies. So this is something that I wanted to talk about, but we'll be talking about it this week. It appears that people are getting ready to do massive nationwide protests on June 14th. A lot of like lib groups and everybody is starting to like pull together, try to set up a big protest for Trump's birthday. Now, it's called the No Kings Rally. Now, personally, I don't know about you, but I think that you should go to these kind of events. I don't care if they're organized by libs. Go and try to radicalize people. And this woman, who I strongly doubt was a lifelong protester, put out the protect the peaceful protest, the sit down wave. Protect the peaceful protest. What to do if violence breaks out at a protest? 1, sit down together. Lower yourself to the ground immediately. Stay where you are. 100%, this is incorrect. First of all, the cops will beat you, and they will use chemical agents and weapons on you. 100,000%. And they will justify it by saying, we ordered you to disperse. You will get trampled. You will get beaten. You will have chemical agents used on you. They will not stop just because you're not a threat. In fact, they will be even more emboldened the more of a non-threat you appear. How do I know this? Protesting for over 10 years. The only time the cops hesitate is when they think there might be a threat. When you are extremely compliant and peaceful, they are more emboldened. The only time the cops retreat is when they're worried they might get cut off from the rest of the group. Silence is power. Stop chanting, put down signs, and remain silent. This is even dumber. So when they beat you, nobody will know what it's for? So when they attack you, nobody, and there's videos of it, clips of it, nobody will even know what you believe in? So the entire reason you're doing this, which is accepting police violence so that your message gets out, is stop saying your message? You dumb fuck. Spread the signal. Gesture or quietly tell others to sit. Do not argue, confront, or respond to aggression. Discipline speaks for itself. Listen, if you're a stoic and you're willing to accept a beating, I congratulate you for being incredibly tough. And there is a place for this. If you are a hardened, trained activist and you're intentionally sending yourself in there to be harmed, I understand. My guess is the average wine mom is not a hardened activist putting themselves in harm's way intentionally to make a political point. That is what you are doing here. A calm, seated crowd is a powerful image for the world and the cameras to see. Average way cops will treat you when you are seated. Notice how these people have their hands up and they're getting sprayed anyway? Notice how they're being beaten? See how this cop is super emboldened and is spraying shit into the faces of the crowd and they don't have shields and all these cops are very relaxed? It's because there's no threat. See, you're peaceful, and so therefore they feel very comfortable fucking you up. Here's another good example. This guy's seated with his hands up, eat a face full of mace. If you're willing to do it, I congratulate you for your hardened resolve. But as a general fucking rule, that's insane. Another cop joins in, shoots him in the back. They look violent. They look like they're doing violence. This is called physical removal. Physical is removal, or when the cops come in and they use every amount of physical violence to force your body into a compliant position where they then physically remove your ass. And they will break your arms, they will break your fingers, they will break your ribs, they'll concuss you, they will hurt you. Don't be confused. All right, this will be the end.
Tom Piker, thank you for your participation in the Global Entry Program of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Global Entry is a voluntary program available to travelers that pass a comprehensive background investigation. Applicants found to be ineligible for Global Entry participation may still be permitted to enter into the United States, although they will not be permitted to use the Global Entry lanes. We regret to inform you that your membership in Global Entry has been revoked for the following reason, in parentheses S, reasons. There's a big space there, and the only thing that it says is, you do not meet program eligibility requirements. This is after they gave it to me. So that's it. Was it revoked before Trump's inauguration? No, after. It says, Dear Hassan Piker, thank you for your participation in the Global Entry Program.
Wait, why am I not rating? Why is it broken? Why is rating broken? Okay, there we go. Anyway, thank you so much, chat, for all the support. I really appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow with more coverage of LA, more discussion of politics. Thank you so much for all your support. I really do appreciate you. A lot of really awesome things are in the works. A lot of awesome things are in the works. So be excited. Make sure you follow. Make sure you follow me on all the things, even though I don't really use Blue Sky. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Stay safe out there. Solidarity forever, my friends. That's how socialism wins. And I'll see you all tomorrow.